Hey, lovelies. So, Scrappy is sick. And unable to be here with us tonight. And, Scarlett is supposed to be here. But her phone, apparently, is giving her some problems. But either way, I guess I'm here. You're here. Jess is listening. Woohoo, Jess. Hi, Pam. I was finishing up a chocolate covered strawberries because they're delicious and I love them. I probably shouldn't, but I do. There's not much really good about them except the strawberry part. I mean, it's all good, but I meant like more like good for me. But you know, it is what it is. So I feel very unprepared today. I haven't been feeling 100% either myself necessarily. But that's okay. We're gonna push through anyways. Because that's what we do. We push through anyways. It apparently really likes this spot. So that's nice. Because I kind of like this spot too. Woohoo! I'm surprised Ellie isn't all over her woohooings and hellos. She has been all about them all day. She's winding down though, I think. Seems to be what she's up to. Thor. Oh, it's Betty. Betty, stop your poop. Betty's always gonna find a way to get her name on air. Every episode. Every episode without fail. Gotta find a way. Gotta be named. Like by name. Like, woohoo, look at me. I'm Betty. Freaking betterific. Uh-oh. Memento. Hopefully. All right, cool. You know, if you guys can't hear me or if I get all weird, robotic or whatever it is, just somebody put it in the In the whatevers, the comments, that's what I meant. Words. Not that they're not important, especially when you do a talk show, but you know, hey, it is what it is. So, let's, do any more on Fukushima because, I did so much like last week, and Scarlett kind of wanted to go over some more of what we already covered, and I had a couple other things. So, Colorado Life with Red today is Lilac Diesel. I can't say I'm complaining. I enjoy it. It's pretty good. And then I got it at the new place. And the new place is priced pretty good. I mean, all things considered, they're within the range, normal. They tear out the flower like everywhere else, pretty much. And Lilac Diesel actually was one of their lower popcorny ones, but still really nice. I enjoy it. The terps are very good on it. I will definitely say that for it. And what else was it? Oh, I got the I got Easy Egg tea. I just brewed that up. It's got to sit for 12 hours now. So in the morning, I'm going to need to reboil it and then strain it, and then it'll be good for 2 to 3 weeks. Start taking it. See what that does, how I feel. Yeah, the new one on tea, yeah, for sure. Scrappy. It's pretty good, pretty decent. The new place, Sacred Blend, I think. I'm pretty sure is the name. It's nice. They have a lot of stuff in there though, and I didn't really have a whole lot of time to look through it all. They have a lot. of edibles in there, homie. A lot. Like all sorts of gummies and just all the things. Oh, darn. Huh. So, yeah, I would say stop in for sure. Uh, I might. I definitely recommend them. They had good selection um for flour and edibles and a whole lot of pre-roll stuff, which was really nice because, like, I mean, a lot of pre-rolls. So that was another good thing about it. And somehow, yeah, it was pretty, it was a good experience going in and checking it out and all. Hi, Kaz. I hope you're doing good. And thus here we are. Good, I'm glad. You think so, Kaz? I mean, I wouldn't doubt it. I would totally believe that that was true. Actually, huh. I'd have no issues believing that it was set up. At all. Huh. Well, be careful. Whatever you do, be careful. Okay. All right, let's do the weekly guidance. See what, who and what wants to guide our week. So, Pan's the guide that jumped out, which, you know, he's Greek, nature, mirth, music, fertility, love, at first sight. The panpipe comes from Pan, and we use him for fertility issues, music, to relax, to enjoy ourselves. So it's going to be a good week. It's going to be a fertile week. You want to take some conception of new projects. All the doors are going to be open this week. The mind's going to be very full. Wonderful new ideas, abundance, flowing. Remember, though, everything is in a baby stage, so you wanna watch the stuff. Have patience. It's going to be a growth process, but this week's going to be good for nurturing yourself and your projects so that you're going to stay strong and you're going to stay fertile. Everything you're going to touch this week's going to turn to gold. Good news coming. No guilt, no worries. Just enjoy yourself this week and start new projects. And that's our weekly guidance. Woohoo! Moon news. We're gonna go over February's moon news again. The snow moon chased ice, bear, storm, hunger. But it is the full moon was in Leo, and so for the next 2 weeks, till we hit that new moon energy, it's going to be crazy emotional. We are not going to be yanked right off the heightened emotional energy from the January, which is nice. It will be a very personal feelings with the shift from Cancer feelings to Leo feelings. It's also going to be romantic and fertile for relationships. I mean, you know, fitting since it's February and it's Valentine's Day and all, you know, you're going to be Twitter-pated, man. It's going to be happening. The actual challenge is going to be between romantic, personal, and all non-personal relations. Heightened boost of creativity and self-expression, and individual and pleasure receiving romance while being keenly aware of the impersonal friendships and feelings, forcing a balance between personal and non-personal. ways of self-expression are being proud and intense are no longer content just to be on the team, and this is going to be newfound value of independence. And this will illuminate the self-conflict of the balance of team versus self. It's going to add to the heavy emotional bursts of consciousness, allowing for the continuance of self-expression and letting go of stagnation and healing. For the cycle, you can expect to discover what's meant for you, but you won't be able to dial it back. So these feelings need to be acknowledged and released. Good, bad, indifferent, balance must be stricken. Caution must be taken, as rational may be very far off in this emotional storm. So this time, Uranus is stirring up unexpected rebellion, leading to abrupt, premature energy, leading to false epiphanies and possible revelations. For those prophets and seers out there, fights with self could be presence for the month. This energy could lead to the final wrap on a big problem or issue in your life, and you need to be careful because Leo energy is hard to discern from positive, healthy energy and unhealthy and chaotic, especially now focused on your romantic relationships. Those personal relations, you could experience aggressiveness, causing issue in lovers that will need a healthy outlet through sexual release, fetishes, kinks, or really good vanilla sex is going to need to be knocking boots. That's what you're going to need to do. Find the peace. Don't forget, romantic energy is not just for romance. Your friendships need nurturing and watering plants in your garden as well. Not getting fruit from everyone. One person is not a realistic outlet to meet all of your needs, and this is why our friendships are so important. In our lives, the balance of lover and non is of very great importance, and this cycle it's of even more importance, and it's going to continue through the 20th of February like this. During that time, you need to nurture the romantic vibes, but balance. Don't forget to bitch about the significant other as well with your non-lovers or your life in general. You will lose your peace in the romantic part, and in life if you don't also let out the complaints. For single people, the cycle is stop worrying and giving yourselves permission just to have fun with your friends and see what surprises happen for you in the month. It will all guide you towards the next cycle, which begins on the 20th. And if you have managed to align things pretty well, it should still lead to prosperity of financial windfalls, stemming from all of your hard ass work from 2022, allowing you to feel righteously proud of yourselves, skills, and accomplishments, feeling unstoppable, leading into this next new cycle. Don't forget to advocate for yourself, to get that recognition by asserting yourself accordingly. Should you need help finding voice, it will be coming soon to follow with March. Your success is imminent in the Leo full moon cycle, as this will all help lead to the next moon cycle of continued flow and ebb. This really could be a turn to a great professional year for many. Now, March's full moon hasn't happened yet, obviously. And it's in Virgo, the worm moon, crow moon, sugar moon, chase, Leighton, crust moon, sap moon. It's time to accumulate and collect on fulfilled promises. That should be rolling in from February and the new moon. This cycle is riding out that emotional romance and renewal of relationship vibes. We are again being led through techniques to find balance with everyday functions, routines, physical and spiritual health, infinite disorder, and the call for order. We need to remember our spiritual selves more in this moon cycle. There's going to be some sort of crisis. This could range from things like a Jiminy Cricket type situation or a conscious crisis to sudden realizations of what we lack in life. However, it's going to leave you on a path of immense opportunity, allowing you to explore emotional needs in context of the household. Still reminding not to lose sight of and continue forward with the balance between work, service, practical, and impractical. This is going to lead to the illumination between criticism and acceptance in your own experiences. However, remembering this is still a very emotionally driven moon cycle. So all of these feelings mentioned before are emotional revelations bursting forth into the consciousness. So you are also gonna find that over the next 2 weeks of this moon cycle, people are about to learn today and what that means to release these things from your system. We have to express these feelings. We cannot repress them any longer. This must be done in balance and with great caution. Careful to remember we are not particularly prone to rational thoughts or feelings just yet. So, pump the brakes, lovelies. We need to be on high alert and listening for those intuitive thoughts, leaving to the eye opening awareness in work, habit, health, and routines. This worm moon is the final full moon of winter, right before spring equinox. The vernal equinox is March 20th. This is just the start of spring equinox and will carry you through the last part of this moon cycle, leading you into April's pink moon vibes on April 6th. Overall, the March moon cycle is still carrying heavy emotional needy vibes. But in a good and hopefully lucrative and very fertile way. With this crow moon leading into the astronomical spring and the end of the astronomical winter, the new moon in March will be the 21st and starting toward that April energy. This worm moon will not be setting Easter's date this year. The pink moon of April will be doing that this year. So this is no compromise feeling. So this no compromise feeling is going to lead to action taking and won't be fooling around. And that need for safety is going to be directly linked to order and clarity, still with high sustaining emotional energy. So that needs to get those imperfections cleared. We should maybe be more self-tolerant and declutter those chaotic and disorganized things. Not a good time for surgeries this month, so do not go there. Remembering that we are not in control and our expectations may be too much. Trusting in the universal consciousness and allowing it to do what it does without question. Be faithful this moon cycle to self and others, as well as spiritual and physical. You're going to see the need for that spring renewal and cleanup. Lovelies, things get so winter cluttered and disorganized. Those to-do lists will start rolling with need for order approaching. Keep in mind you want to work smart, not hard this year. That reboot feeling is strong this moon cycle, and you should take heed. So just keep on living, lovelies, and roll with it, baby. That's going to be the full moon news and, well, the moon news period for obviously February and March. It's going to be good. I think that it's leading into good years, or a good year, I should say. And Scarlett still is not here. So.
Oh, no.
I know. It is a little junk. I don't like that she hasn't made it yet. So, I'm not sure exactly what she wanted to recover on my Fukushima stuff. I know we had talked about it a little bit throughout the week, but I hadn't really had much time to talk to her, and I haven't been feeling 100% lately. My Hashimoto's has been a little crazy. But, you know, we do what we do. I know Scarlett wanted to talk about the Chinese spy balloon. You know, that was a thing she wanted to discuss too. Oh, you know what? I wanted to bring up Terrence Williams, the comedian, because let me tell you something. Okay, this man is the epitome of, like, don't just talk it, walk it. Like, don't just say it, be about it. Like, he is not just out there complaining about shit. He's like, no, I'm actually doing something to change it. So he has this big thing with how they took Aunt Jemima's face off of all of her stuff. Like, he's super upset about it. And so he has created his own brand. Yeah, you heard me. His own brand called Cousin Cheese. Freaking pancake mixes. And pure maple syrup. Pure maple syrup, y'all. I don't know how he's doing the maple syrup, but here it is delicious. I personally have not ordered anything from him yet. But so it's like his answer, because they took Aunt Jemima off of everything to make this Cousin Cheese pancake mix, and he's got a big old chef hat on, and he got a whole, like, little white chef thing on, and his big, beautiful face is on every box. And so now they're trying to cancel his pancakes because they want Terrence's token black face off of the pancake box, I guess. And his answer is that he's never going to cancel his pancakes. That's A. And they're never going to get that. And instead, every time they try, he comes out with like a new flavor of pancake mix instead. So now you have not only the original that you were complaining about, but a new one to complain about now too. Which I'm just saying, like, I adore this man for the fact that he's like, you know what? I ain't just talking about it. I'm being about it. Like, I'm not just crying about how they took Aunt Jemima's beautiful face off of her stuff, but I created my own stuff, and God love him that he had the money to do it. But I mean, he's got all these different kinds now. Blueberry, and I think there's an apple cinnamon, and I know there's a new birthday cake, there's a buckwheat, there's buttermilk. He now has gluten-free. So, and I know the gluten-free comes in regular and blueberry, but I think that's all he has in right now. But you know, I'm sure that more cancellations are coming, so more gluten-free flavors will be available. I mean, if he's already started, or even buckwheat flavors, because I mean, like a blueberry buckwheat would be nice, or like, you know, whatever in that direction, but still good. And I hear that the pancake mix is really, really good. What I know is for like the gluten-free, 2 boxes is like $27. Which I guess nowadays for the cost of pancake mix, that's not unreasonable. No. Shocking. Hi, Wayne. Whoop whoop. Glad to see you here. So I just wanted to give him a little shout out because I love Terrence as a comedian, but I just really love the fact that he's like all about, you know, making these pancakes and being the taste of like, you know, freedom and America and being a patriot and just, you know, he's really out there being the change that he wants to see in everybody else, not just talking about it. And that gives a lot of inspiration to everyone. And for that, I just wanted to give him a shout and an appreciation because not everybody can do what Terrence does, but it lets us know that the little bits that we can do make a difference. And one man can make a stand and make a difference. You know, a tiny little wave turns into a really big one as it moves through further. So that's always good. Now, I guess I'm just going to highlight a couple of the things from Fukushima because, yes, Ellie Bird. We're going to go over the Fukushima we have not forgotten. I was trying to wait on Scarlet, but she's still not here. Thanks, buddy. She's still not here, and we gotta get through this. Oh, I guess I could do a spiritual message. But I already said I was gonna do the Fukushima one. So Fukushima, we have not forgotten. Just gonna highlight things about it today. Again, it was. Again, I like to remind people that Fukushima was a level 7 nuclear disaster created by Mother Nature. It was created through an earthquake that then caused a tsunami that then wiped out the Fukushima plant. Between the earthquake and the tsunami, it was just too much. It will hopefully remain the largest naturally caused nuclear disaster in our history, if we're lucky. If we're lucky. But again, Chernobyl also ranked a level 7 man-made nuclear disaster. And again, hopefully Chernobyl will remain forever the largest known man-made nuclear disaster in our history. Both of those things being said, there's a lot of history on Chernobyl that is coming out now that wasn't available back then, that you're like, whoa, they really lied to us. And then there's a lot of stuff going around about Fukushima right now that we're watching. Oh yeah, she's back, Pam. She's supposed to be with us, but she said her phone was having problems, so I don't know. She was supposed to be here at 6. I did remind her. She said she would be here soon as she could.
Happened to the girl that I once knew.
She started this weather team.
Oh no.
I know.
Oh no. Oh no, 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 no.
Honestly, I do believe that it was probably heart related. Things that concern me with Fukushima is the fact that, and something that I can't remember if I brought it up last week or not, but I do want to be sure that we cover it now. They have introduced this new nifty plan to slowly release another 3 to 4 estimated million tons of radioactive wastewater into the ocean over the next 3 decades. My feeling on this is, back when everything happened, they were leaking. It was leaking into the ocean. I firmly believe that they have not actually decided to release more into the ocean. I think that they're just trying to cover their own asses for what's is still leaking and has been. And so thus they can't stop it. They weren't able to stop it before. You know, things that I remember specifically is that back when Scarlett and I really started researching Fukushima, because I've been researching and talking about Fukushima now for, well, 6 years. Yeah. As long as I've had a talk show, I've been talking about Fukushima. It was one of the things that I felt was in my repertoire that I was supposed to be discussing with the world, because even back then many people were like, Fukushima, and I haven't heard of Fukushima. And today, when you mention Fukushima, you still often get very similar responding. Oh, I didn't know there was a big thing that happened in Fukushima. Yes, Pam, it was, but it wasn't. And it was failing, but have we asked ourselves why it was failing? Now, that being said, things that I can't find in the history of looking up Fukushima now that was being reported at the time, we were being told this was the absolute ground zero of nuclear disasters. Like, this was a world-ending scenario. That in no way did we come out okay and unscathed from this. We were told, again, Chernobyl being a level 7 and Fukushima being also deemed a level 7, there's nothing higher than a level 7. They can't, they didn't just invent a new one for Fukushima. If there was an 8, it would have been an 8. If there was a 9, it would have been a 9. Like, it was reported 6 times worse than Chernobyl. 6 times. At least. Now, that being said, nothing now that you're reading in the history of Chernobyl is really showing you that. Also, the reactors at Fukushima were failing. They were melting through the floor, and one left the plant and melted into the Earth's crust and disappeared. Nowhere in history of Fukushima do they repeat that. Also, nowhere in the history of Fukushima can I find about the robots that they were sending in that they've created to withstand the nuclear stuff. Radio waves, isotopes, all of that. Or I'm sorry, radiation and isotopes and all of that. Those very robots created to deal with this were melting. They couldn't even go do what they were invented to do because it was that contaminated. All of that being taken into account, here we are. That happened in 2011, and now we're in 2023. It's only a mere 12 years later. And we're like, Fukushima's fine. It's fine. It's not even contaminated anymore. Meanwhile, Chernobyl, that happened in the 80s, is so contaminated, we don't even let people go over there. And the people that do live anywhere near Chernobyl are not allowed to even open their own damn windows or get food anywhere in the area. It's got to be brought in sealed. Somebody, I'm just saying, man, something's dirty in Denmark, like lies and manipulation. Because you can't have one place. And my other concern too is Chernobyl. Chernobyl also domed the nuclear power plant with concrete and steel, and that was supposed to help. And whether it did or didn't is irrelevant at this point. But Fukushima didn't even do that, and somehow they cleaned up Fukushima well enough that people can move in. And my thing is if you could do this at Fukushima, why wasn't it done at Chernobyl? Why isn't it being done at Chernobyl? If we have the technology to clean and de-radiate everything and decontaminate everything, why have we not done it? I mean, I'm open to thoughts about this. Because, again, if we can do it here, why have we not done it over there? Oh, we definitely want to, Kaz, because, like I said, how do you say in 12 could accomplish it? It does not, even scientifically, this does not make sense. It doesn't add up. Nothing adds up, and the stories don't mesh, man. Oh, dude, did I just hear Scarlet?
Yeah, dude, bruh. You didn't even check your messages.
What? I did.
Check your Facebook. Check your messages. Check your things, man.
I did, dude. I did.
I've been over here struggling for the last hour. Then I've been messaging you, and I'm like, send me the StreamYard link. I hear nothing back. I don't know if my messages are
shit.
sending.
Sorry.
But it was all right. I got him. I'm here now.
She's like, I did it. I'm here. I've been telling everybody you were coming. We were,
I was struggling. It was a blank screen. And I mean for the longest time. I know. Everybody checking the bandwidth for the stupid Super Bowl.
Right.
I believe it was like halftime or something recently. I don't know. That Mahomes dude hurt himself again, so the Eagles will probably win. Not that I really care, but I just feel like that's what's coming. Also, another Super Bowl update. The commercials are terrible.
Ew.
Isn't that bad? That used to be the best part.
Right. How do you ruin the best part?
Bruh. How do they always ruin the best part? They're just been unoriginal, not funny. Um, some of the best commercials came from the Super Bowl in the past, like the "What's up" and Budweiser, Clydesdales, and like a bunch of stuff, and like the good Pepsi commercials. And now we just get. There has been some ridiculous ones. Dang! Now they're kicking you out.
No, it was me and my big dumb fingers.
No, that happens. I feel it.
I'm lucky I don't hit end half the time.
Bro, I'm telling you. That's real.
I'm trying to hear you better, but it's not letting me.
Is that better?
It's not you. It's the way that this is on my phone for some reason. I don't know.
Did you check your audio settings and make sure it was on speaker?
Yep.
Just making sure, because sometimes it gets unchecked,
Right.
You never know. I've got some earbuds, but that only is going to help me, not you.
Let me see. Oh, you know what? Let me check this quick. Sounds vibration. System volume. Oh, let's try this. Speak. Are you talking? Uh-oh.
Didn't I do it?
Ah, there, that worked. Hi.
Right.
Hi, that's better.
You should have walked to the casino, Kaz. You probably would have won some money. He said he was going to bet on the Eagles. You should have. I don't know how they come back now, so. I did have fun at the Storm Convention, Pam. I had too much fun, actually. And I got to meet Reed Timmer, which is like the highlight of my life.
The
Not gonna lie.
Eagles are leading now, Jess says.
Oh, is it 24, 21? I'll see. Look. Eagles are leading now. Thank you, update people. We appreciate you. Because I figured other people would want to know, you know what I mean, since you guys are, so gracious to be here. Just because everybody else is going to be talking about it, because we're not those people, but
right.
Everybody's going to be talking about it. I didn't watch halftime, so I do not know what the people are going to be talking about, because, everybody's talking about the Grammys. And
ooh, that's interesting. Cass says that there's a leak saying that it's going to end basically with the Eagles winning 37-34.
Well, Fox News had an article earlier today. Why even bring this up? About how some NFL players talked about walking because of the scripting. Mm-hmm. Like I said, football games to me are give them bread and circuses. It's a gladiator sport. I am eating nachos right now, but only because that reminded me, like, football and nachos. I'm so hungry. Like, I forgot to feed my family, and then I was like, dang, well, since my phone's not working, I'll just keep trying while I make these nachos. So, yeah, I'm eating nachos, if everybody's wondering why I'm eating on air. And I usually don't eat on air, but they're delicious. And I made them with chicken and enchilada sauce. And then they have this new Chipotle salsa con queso at Aldi. It's very good.
Cool.
I would recommend.
So, yeah.
Rihanna's pregnant, huh? Could you see the baby bump? I didn't watch this halftime.
I think that's why she's saying it. Because I think it took everybody a little by surprise. Chris Stapleton was really good with the national anthem. Mm,
And Babyface sang America the Beautiful.
mm.
Mm-hmm.
I see. Mm. So yeah, we were just rediscussing some things on Fukushima again.
Oh, okay.
Like, things that I remember. So I'm glad that you made it because and now I have somebody here to support what I remember. Um, things that you can't find in history now of Fukushima. Like you can't find it written anywhere in the history of Fukushima now that it was 6 times worse than Chernobyl.
Mm-hmm.
Nowhere do they want to admit that. We also cannot find about the robots melting.
Mm-hmm.
Whoa, what happened? Where'd you go?
I'm here.
Oh, yeah, we can't find anything on the robots melting in Fukushima.
And we directly reported on that.
Yes, we did.
So I
Because
call
that was
crap on that.
actually happening at the time that
Correct.
Journey to Freedom was on the air. They were trying to send in. So it was still quite a few years
It was
after the incident.
right. Right.
And it was melting the very robots they created to do what couldn't be done.
Right.
And this was a big thing for us to be reporting on at that time, but now cannot be found in any of the history of Fukushima, Scarlet. Like, we've just skipped
I
that.
call crap. Because we know it did. We know
Also,
it did. It was
also
TEPCO. It was TEPCO who sent in the damn robot.
it absolutely was, and now it is nowhere in history.
See, that's why I
No.
can't stand it. Oh, I got to meet Dwayne. Yep, that was pretty cool. Not gonna lie. I've met everybody on the network now, and so that feels pretty good to be able to have met everyone in person, including Dwayne. Dwayne is the same in person, so no surprise there.
So he still sucks.
Right, correct.
Right.
Still irritates my soul just in person, live, real time.
Right. Still blows up, hoses with his nose. We get it.
Right. Of course. The only thing is I got to beat Dwayne in real life. And so that was nice.
That was rewarding, I'm sure.
It was very rewarding. There was 6 years of pent up frustration. He came after me with the fly swatter, y'all. So just imagine Scarlett grabs said fly swatter from Dwayne, chases Dwayne through the house, and then Dwayne falls. So of course now you're vulnerable. So then whap, 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 whap. So yeah.
I would have tripped him or thrown a shoe and made him fall and then attacked him.
That would actually have been good too.
Yeah,
I
see,
will take
you
notes for
forgot
next time. I'll take notes for next time because we have a meet and greet for the team this summer in Missouri.
You forgot your training from that show with the what were they? The little Vietnamese people? We watched a show. Remember the show?
Oh, fresh off the boat.
Was that it?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Where
Yeah, with the little crazy boy and he like rapping.
No. The one that we were
Yeah,
watching. What?
fresh off the boat.
I don't think
I'm
that's
telling
the
you, it was
one.
that
That's
fresh
not
off the
the
boat
one.
show.
It's like I'm sorry, not sorry, or something was the one. Because it was about the woman that married the white guy, and then her parents, who were of, I think it was.
Oh, that one. Was it with Bernie Mac? And
No,
Bernie Mac was the daddy? And it was Ashton
no,
Kutcher as the white boy? Not that one.
no, not that one. It was the one where she was like, "You threw shoes at me when I was little," and she was like, "Yes." and now you have the reflexes of a tiger or whatever it was. Like,
Oh, yes. What was that one? Yes, G. I remember what show you're talking about because it was like, now you have reflex like Tiger.
right, yes. Like she was
Right,
always complaining
yes.
about the shit that they used
I swear that was
They
fresh off
might
the
have even
boat.
been Filipino. I
I
can't
swear that was
remember
the
now.
grandma, but maybe we're wrong.
No, I'm pretty sure it was her mom
Mm-hmm.
because mom and dad had to move in with them at that one time, and then mom was always saying she wasn't doing her wifely duties and her mom duties, and then her mom was dressing up like her in the room and being like, I have a career, blah blah blah, blah.
Yeah, I swear it might have been fresh off the. Yeah, which show was that? That was good. Whatever
It
show that
was
was.
like something sorry, I'm sorry, or not sorry, or it was something like that. I'm pretty sure sorry was somewhere in the title, but it's like a 5-year-old sitcom now.
Yeah, it would be.
Well, I
I
guess
can't
not
remember what
5 years.
channel it was on.
Yeah, it might
It
be
could be
more.
up to that old.
Right.
Yeah. Dang, that was a good
And,
show.
oh, and I brought up I did bring up Terrence
Right.
Williams, the comedian,
Mm-hmm.
tonight because I just wanted to give him a shout out because he's out there being the change.
Right.
He didn't just complain. He he's mad. He's mad that they took Aunt Jemima's face off of the pancakes.
Right. That's why he made his cousin.
Cousin T's
What are they called?
pancakes.
Cousin T's. Yeah, cousin T's pancake mix. Yeah, there we go.
So, I brought that up and I kind of put in a pitch for him because, well, he's not just talking it, man, he's walking it.
Right.
He didn't just say, oh, this makes me mad. He said, watch me put my big, beautiful black face on a box of fucking pancake mix and then tell me I can't.
Right.
And they are trying to tell him that he can't. I don't know if you know this update, but they are
Mm.
trying to tell him that he can't do it. So every time that they try to cancel his pancakes, he makes a new flavor.
Oh, right.
So now, not only do you have the original ones that were so offensive to you, right? But now you've got a new
Right.
flavor, a new box, and his face on another flavor and another box. So,
Wow.
he even makes gluten-free ones now.
Wow.
And he's got pure maple syrup. He's got his face on pure maple syrup that you can also buy with his pancakes now. And he's got all
Right.
sorts of flavors now, like
Yeah, it was
blueberry.
fresh off the boat. It was fresh off the boat.
Was it?
The grandma is on that show. It's the only Asian TV show, and it was on for 6 seasons.
Hmm.
And there was a grandma. Mm-hmm. There's a grandma, Asian grandma, and that's her.
Yeah, because
She
she
was
was always
hilarious.
throwing the flip flops and
Mm-hmm.
everything. Yeah, that was a good show.
That was a good show. I like that show.
I did too.
It's on Hulu.
So, and so I just wanted to remind people, again, what is the isotope for Fukushima, guys?
Mm.
Scarlett?
What about Fukushima, guys?
I said, what is the isotope for Fukushima?
Oh, CCM-137.
Thank you.
Yeah, correct.
And do you want to tell these nice people what that is really?
This radioactive isotope. Radioactive isotopes hold radioactive atomic numbers. They can't change or morph. So, a radioactive isotope number is going to be the same product throughout the world. And in the case of CCM-137, it's only found at Fukushima.
So do you think that it would be safe to say, Scarlett, that this
Well,
isotope
we just found some of it in that damn capsule
okay, that I
in
was just about
Australia.
to say, but I was going to say, but so it's safe to say that basically this isotope, right, number CC-127 is like the social security number for a nuclear power plant. Because you can't find that isotope at any other plant in the world, correct? Or at least you're not supposed to. Just like, you're the only one who's supposed to have your freaking social security number. It's supposed to identify you. Or like the DNA of the power plant. You make it with gluten-free products, Pam. You would use gluten-free flour or whatever else that you're using to make the mix. That's all. There's tons of places that make gluten-free pancake mixes. I was just shining on the fact that Terrence actually has one now. But anyways, getting back to the isotope. Where'd you go, Scarlett? All right. I would say that that's a pretty safe comparison. Like,
What the hell?
oh, thanks. Hi, welcome back. Or not. You were back for like a second.
Okay.
Oh, there you are.
I'm back now. There we
Okay.
go. I put you in
So,
my Bluetooth.
I see. So, do you
Is
think
that better? Does it sound? Does it sound better?
it does
Okay, good.
actually? So
Yeah, I got
is
some new Bluetooth headphones when I was on the road at Love's Truck Stop for $14. So if you have a Love's Truck Stop, I highly recommend it. And they're chargeable. And yeah, highly recommend.
so do you
Continue.
think that that's a pretty safe comparison, saying that the isotope number is like relatively like the social security number of a power plant?
Even more so. This shit's
Like
like DNA
DNA?
signature.
Could we compare it
DNA.
to like DNA signature?
Yep, it is its DNA signature. Let's put it like that.
So when we jump forward now and talk about this Russian capsule, what the hell is it doing with Fukushima being
Australian.
hit?
Australian capsule.
Oh, Australian capsule.
Australian. Okay, now mind you, they said it was in a box truck and that a screw came loose. Now follow this, okay? Box truck, like a U-Haul. Screw comes loose in the floorboard by the wheel well from vibration, they say. Follow me. Then a tiny capsule, 6 millimeter by 6 millimeter, falls through that hole. Then they got to search the outback for it. Now, come on. All that
Lies.
didn't happen.
This is
They
lies.
lied. I bet you somebody stole it, and then and then the world was like, oh shit. So then they came out and said, oh, we lost it, so that somebody would give it up because people would be looking for it.
Lord.
And then somebody gave it
Lord.
back. That's what I think.
I don't even know.
I mean, I don't know. I don't know what to say about any of this. What about these dang weather balloons? What about those?
Yeah, that too. That too.
Yeah, we don't even know about that.
Oh,
We don't even know what they are, what they're doing. Huh?
So let me ask you, how do you feel about the potential of walking into your local grocery store and purchasing fruits and or vegetables having been grown in Fukushima?
No, I don't want no Fukushima nuclear radiated fruits or vegetables or meats
Because
or eggs or flour or anything.
they
Nothing. A
plan
fish, a
on,
seafood, a shrimp, a tilapia, a nothing.
they
Nothing.
plan
Not
on
a damn thing.
opening the hot zone city right next to Fukushima this year and focusing on agriculture.
No.
Yeah, oh yeah,
Just
that's
a
the
whole lot
plan.
of no.
Do you know that they want us to believe only 2.4% of Fukushima is contaminated?
They lied. They said that should be contaminated for 100 years.
At least, at least.
At least. And 10,000 or some crazy number.
Because
Like,
they said a
they
thousand.
definitely told those old people they'd never be able to move back. They
Right,
definitely told the old people that.
right.
So, yeah, nope.
Yeah,
Then.
they're
So,
saying
I mean, and
2.4%.
remember, they started with the logging. They didn't necessarily jump right into the veg, but they did
Oh,
start with the
the
logging.
trees. Right, planting the trees.
The trees. Yep.
And then sending those trees to
Now, all of a sudden, apparently, it just,
parks.
right, now, all of a sudden, it just, cleared everything up, apparently.
Well, here's what I
Maybe
said
they
too.
just needed to plant. Maybe they just needed to plant some trees at Chernobyl.
Oh, right,
Like, come
because the
on now.
trees that were at Chernobyl weren't done. Um, you know, I don't understand how it's such a different narrative in one place compared to the other. And my only explanation
Right,
is that one country's lying to us more than another. And for
right.
once, I don't think it's the ones that we're used to.
That's true. That's true.
You know what I mean? And
Right.
now, for those that are unaware, we're going to bring you back to it too. Um, Chernobyl is literally smoldering again underneath the rubble.
Right.
We can't get to it. We can't stop it. And the potential is there for another huge nuclear disaster as big as the first one. But they believe this time that the two domes, the concrete and the metal dome over the concrete that they've done now for Chernobyl, will withhold all of this stuff. I say age alone in those things leaves a lot to be desired. Like, no offense, but things weaken in older age, concrete being one of them. And then you've got concrete under radiation. I can't assume that that's standing up that well against the test of time. Like,
I'm with you, Kaz. I'm not eating nothing. Not a thing.
right? Oh, hail to the no. Oh, I know, guys. I know. Don't shoot the messenger. I'm just letting y'all know what they're saying they're doing. Which is why this is lunatical to me, okay? Meanwhile, in Chernobyl, that happened in the 80s, they're still like 40 miles away from hot zone and not even able to open their windows.
Right.
Fear of fucking
Right.
contamination.
And Zaporizhia too, because that one in Ukraine also got they got shut down.
You know another thing that we forget, and
Mm.
and it's been very forgotten, but people have forgotten 3 Mile Island meltdown.
True, 3 Mile Island, yeah. Didn't that happen out east in like the 70s?
Yes. Yeah,
Like I
but
remember
3
hearing
Mile
about that in
Island
school.
wasn't as bad of a scene, mostly because it was on an island 3 miles from in all directions.
Right. Most people aren't traveling out there. Most people are interacting with the
Well, they
land.
weren't even allowed to. You weren't even allowed to get
That's what I
close.
mean. Like you probably had to be a employee to even get out there.
Right, exactly. So, like, that was the one major savior of 3 Mile Island. So I will give us Americans some credit.
Right.
We did nuclear, but we put that shit on an island.
Some of the stuff ain't though. Like we got one here in Minnesota that's in Monticello that's around the whole neighborhood, and they have a stockpile of potassium iodide for the kids in case it ever melts down.
Mm-hmm.
And you have to sign a waiver stating that your child can have potassium iodide at school if you're in that district, and you have to have special waivers on file and all that.
I'm telling y'all, no fucking way. I am not eating shit from no hot zones. People can lick my nuts about that, because, nope. No ma'am, no ham, no turkey, no spam. I am not doing that. Yep, 79, the year I was born. Did you have to put the rest of that in there, Wayne? Thanks for telling everybody how old I am. Well, I guess technically I did when I said that was the year I was born. I could have kept that information to myself. Big mouth.
I was just about to say, you told on yourself. Wayne didn't tell on you. Now, don't be putting Wayne out there like that. That's wrong. Poor Wayne. We apologize here at Freedom Revolution Network. The opinions of Red Gypsy are not the opinions of Freedom Revolution Network.
Hey, you know what? I'm not everybody's cup of tea. I said that from the beginning.
I'm just letting people know.
And sorry, not
Because you're
sorry.
all.
I said what I said, and it is what it is.
But for the record, you called yourself out.
Yeah, and like Wayne said, welcome. um, and we're glad that he's made it to listen. But yeah, so I'm freaking real that this is where, and like I said, like Chernobyl still, meanwhile, is like, okay, well, we allow like tourists, but no longer than like 2 nights for fear of contamination. Meanwhile,
Yeah, and you do have to like sign in and out and like wear a
yeah,
Geiger
sign
counter the whole
waivers that
time.
if
And
you're affected and blah blah blah, you won't sue them and yada yada yada. It's like, oh, the perfect vacation. Arrive with one head, leave with two. Oh, congratulations on your 2 new arms. uh, why?
and your dog's 3 new heads, like legit.
Right, right, okay,
They
but
know they've seen
meanwhile,
strange frogs.
right, but meanwhile in Fukushima, move right back in. Like, move right back in and let's grow veggies for the world. Let's do this shit. What? So all I'm going to tell people is, guys, when you go to buy fruit and it's glowing and they try to tell you some shit like new hybrid GMO fruit, good for you, glow, blah blah blah. It's lies. It's radiated food. Don't eat it. Don't eat the glowing food.
Well,
No
you
matter
wouldn't
what
even see.
lies and manipulation they tell you, don't eat it.
Well, I mean, they're already trying to feed us bugs,
I
so
mean,
there's that.
everything that they give us already is poison. We know
Oh,
this.
Pam was a little girl. Pam said she was a little girl during 3 Mile Home.
Yeah, well, I was being born. I was alive. I was 7 when Chernobyl happened.
Right?
And
Interesting that you both were 7. Isn't that interesting? You both were 7 when those events occurred. Interesting.
mhm, mhm.
Just
And
saying.
then I was 32 when Fukushima happened.
That'd have been like 22
So
in
I
Fukushima.
have now lived through the 2 largest nuclear world ending events ever in our history. And we're still here,
Well, yeah.
guys.
Well, I mean, we don't live in Fukushima either, so there's that. Or Chernobyl. But, we were afraid for a while of the clouds that could potentially come in from the coast and. You know what I mean?
Oh man, it's still happening.
Remember when, InfoWars was one of the first people who went out to the beach there in California and measured and
Yeah,
tested the sand and saw
and
cesium 137 in the sand.
look at where they are now, G. Look at what has happened to them.
I wouldn't be surprised if you couldn't find cesium 137 in just about everywhere.
Now?
Because that isotope
Oh yeah, because
doesn't
it's been
die.
leaking in the ocean all these years. And we know that because the reason that it was leaking in the ocean to begin with, okay, we would like to clarify this for everybody, at least what we were being told at the time, right?
Right.
Because part of why Scarlett and I started reporting on Fukushima when JiF started, and why it was so important to us is because it
And
was
we talked about it on Clarity too, because we did it on both shows every week.
yes. And the reason that it was so important is because this was still leaking into the ocean.
Now, meanwhile, you know what? Something to bring up right now, though, that's currently happening and currently affecting people is that train derailment in Ohio. People are saying their animals are dying. Gee. and saying that their dogs are dying and their chickens are dying and their livestock is dying after they're bringing them back in that area. And they say it's
Um,
all clear. And they say it's all clear, and supposedly the air quality tests are coming out and all this crap. But everybody says their animals are dying right now, and nobody's talking about it anymore. So that reminds me of Fukushima, because that train had 5 cars of that polyvinyl whatever crap that when it hits cold air can just knock you out and kill you. They said if it gets in contact with water and comes through your water system, you could pass out and die just from the water. Like taking a shower or cooking or drinking.
shut up.
I like. That's why it was everywhere, but I just didn't hear about it because I was at the convention, so I wasn't necessarily looking at news and, staying on top of that. Because, I mean, we were just, schmoozing and having a good time.
No, I
So,
get it.
yeah, sometimes it'd be like that. But it always happens to be big stuff like that when I'm out of town. Like, hell, they showed that Flight Radar 24 picture today of that radar plane. And that's the same plane that flew over us in Oklahoma when we were at the Chaser Summit when they went to go look for that balloon the first time. And I have a picture of it.
Right.
Because me and Candy went out to have a cigarette during the thing, and then it flew over us, and I was like, oh, girl, get a picture of that. And she did, and it was crazy. Because I found out that there's only one of these in the fleet. And there's only one, we only have one of them. Out of all of the planes in our Air Force, we only have one of them. Let's save it. I don't know. Oh, I could probably add it to the Freedom Revolution Network website or Facebook, because there's only one of these, and I just saw it last week. And it flew over us like 3 different separate times that night. Like, it was wild. Like, and it's crazy because it was super close to us. Like, the picture does a little bit of justice, but, like, I mean, it's a mobile, it's a 707, I guess.
If China wants to hurt us, they don't have to send balloons. All they have to do is stop sending ships.
You silence.
What? Oh, true.
That was Peanut Gallery.
No more ships. No more stuff. Aha.
No, she's probably not by the phone at the moment.
Are we just listening to a recording?
No.
Oh, they actually get the stuff. Who gets to replace it? Oh, what was that out there?
No, you
We don't have any Transformers. You'd have to get them if they went out all across the United States. Like, nobody has Transformers.
what?
They're a year out being made, and they're all made in China.
Oh, right, yeah.
So what would people do if those start going out? They have to prioritize which cities get them first right now, as it is.
Right.
So it's like it's only going to get worse.
Hi,
Yeah, Peanut Gallery.
everybody says.
Ah!
Yep.
Everybody heard it. Funny.
Well, they're including you.
Right.
They could ignore you. Much like Red does.
I try. I fail.
It's a skill. I know, I was going to say it's a skill.
Yeah, you have
It's a
to.
learned skill. Very hard. Well, and there's patience involved too, so
Listen,
there's that.
there are no lies there. Peanuts.
But I mean, it makes you think about all of that though, because we've been having a lot of events, and
We
then they
have.
say we don't know what it is.
Right.
Why am I echoing all of a sudden?
What do you mean bumblebee? Like bumblebee tuna?
Right?
Where's
Oh,
Prime?
maybe Optimus Prime for
Prime.
Transformers.
Prime and Bumblebee. Right. Okay, I get it now.
Yeah, where are they when we need it? Yeah, where are the superheroes? I feel like She-Ra or somebody could come fuck this up right now.
Dude, where is fucking Clark Kent?
Yeah, you ain't never lie. Where's he at? We need him.
Or,
Something's not right though.
we'll even go with a self-made fucking hero like Batman. Let's do it. But where is
Well,
it?
this last one was octagonal, and they say they don't know what it is. So it makes you wonder because they really won't admit what it is. So what is it? Are they gonna say it's a UFO? Are they gonna say it's another weather balloon? You know, and I mean everybody's been putting up weather balloons, and they had enough nerve to say we haven't been looking at radar data, so we don't know if these things have been flying over before. When they just admitted that General Mattis saw one when Trump was in office, but didn't want to tell Trump because he felt like Trump would overreact. That should be treason because you shouldn't be able to keep things from the president like that. It matters in national security, especially.
Right.
So the fact that General Mattis didn't tell him is a problem. You can tell him, Mr. President, I don't think you should overreact, but at the same time, too, he's still the head of the armed forces, so he can do what he wants.
Right.
So I don't know, because they said maybe these have been going over for a long while and just nobody was paying attention. And if that's the case, which a lot of people would be sending up weather balloons, if I lived on this earth with the grand solar minimum and I had access, now I have access to figure out how to launch one of them, though. So that could be in the works. But if I was China or some developed country that has technology and scientists, I'd be sending up weather balloons to figure out what's happening too. Just saying, because we know the atmosphere and the pole shift's going to change. What if they're sending them up to figure out where the pole is shifting?
Right.
Or maybe they're trying to shift the pole themselves. I don't know. I don't know what these things do. Nobody's speculated. I have not heard a theory. And that's what bothers me the most. Usually when things happen like this, we hear some type of conspiracy theory or underground theory or something, which makes me think that they really might not know what these are.
Right.
Or what they're capable of doing, why they're being so tight-lipped. Because usually somebody would know something. No one knows nothing. And that's not usual. So I don't know. I feel some type of way about these things. It reminds me of the Fukushima style cover-up. It reminds me of that sort of, we only tell you so much to your face attitude.
Right.
We lie about what's happening attitude, like all that. Fuck these guys. Because, like Peanut Gallery said, if China wanted to mess us up, they don't need no balloon. They can send the EMP from China, like, no problem. But they've been messing with the winds lately. I don't know if you remember a couple weeks back, I don't know if I said something to you or not, that there was some real strong, weird ass winds coming off China. Right?
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, I don't know when the atmospheric rivers were happening. Right? And I met that hurricane hunter, Amarillo Tato, at the thing, and I asked her, was she up on the missions for the atmospheric rivers? And she said no. But she also said that hurricane hunters don't have any control over their data either. It goes straight back to the government, and they don't even get to like review the data. So that's a problem too, because the scientists who are on board should be able to know what their data says. Like they're just flying these missions blind for the United States government. And so who knows what data they're pulling. So like I said, and now they're talking about going back and looking at raw data on radar. How come nobody was looking at raw data before? Talk about we have some algorithms set up. I'm tired of the government using algorithms. We can hire 120,000 goddamn IRS workers, but we can't get 25 people to look at goddamn radar?
Right?
For real. Like, let's make it make sense. No, we did not mention the little Matrix thing on Hawaii that looked like the little laser thing from the Matrix. You see that, G?
Mm-hmm.
That was messed up. I believe, wasn't that the same night of the Turkey earthquake?
I do believe so.
Something's going on with that, too. We had 3 7.5s in a row. But they didn't report on the one. And we know it was like an 8 anyway, but that's regardless beyond the point. But there was 3 separate events besides the bunches of aftershocks. So something's going on. And I don't know if these balloons are doing it, which they could be. Traveling over fault lines and things, because what they keep doing over Montana, they try to mess with Yellowstone.
Right.
Also, these people said, oh, last night they were like, oh, we think there's a UFO over Montana airspace. We're going to wait until the morning to see it on radar. You don't need to wait the morning for radar. That's not how radar works. Nighttime, daytime, maybe because of solar storm they might not have been able to see it and just didn't want to admit that we don't have good propagation at night during a solar storm. That's possible. You know, people wouldn't understand that because it does black out radio waves, and that's what you're using for radar.
Right.
You know, so I mean that's possible. Could be 5G networks interfering where we can't see it. Could be once we turned on 5G, we haven't been able to see these little objects either. Something's up with it, though. I'll tell you that. Because they're saying this Turkey earthquake is like 5 or 10 times worse than Fukushima.
Yeah.
And they're saying 60,000 dead, which is what I said the first night. Is that though I had heard reports the first night there was 20 to 60,000 dead, and people were like, "There's no way." And then the UN guy came out two mornings ago, and they had an official death toll of 25,000, and he said double that at least, which means probably 100,000 are dead, to be honest. Because if they said double it at least, and they're admitting 50, it's 150.
Right.
You and I both know that. So, and then Syria is actually begging for them to stop fighting because they can't have any like supplies sent in because they have sanctions and shit. But basically, Syria's tapping out. They said they can't do this no more. I mean, 10 years of war, and now what? So it's very interesting.
I am with you on that one.
See, that's what I'm saying. See, that's what I'm thinking at 8.8 because they said a tsunami wave hit Italy, and the way everything just crumbled to the ground even hours later, ripped open the slip strike fault. I mean, there's just so much that happened that it couldn't have been just a 7.5. Like, we've seen 7.5, and we ain't seen that. Not in that area, but regardless. We've seen that big one in Iran, and it didn't do all that, and that's close enough to them. You know, Iran's on the other side of, like, Turkey, and Iran and Turkey, I think, share a border. So it's just like, whoa. And then Syria and Gaza,
Right.
and who have been the main people who do not want shit to do with the Ukrainian war? I'll let you guess. Syria is Iran,
Yeah.
and the Gaza Strip, which are the Palestinians. So just saying, I don't know if I find it coincidental that they get hit
Right.
because they're all opposing to the Ukrainian war. They all also would be Russian allies.
Mm-hmm.
So that is another angle to think about that they're all a Russian ally. So just say
Yeah.
California is gonna be next. You ain't lying. They said that too. There's been scientists coming out and saying regardless they're next, but I think they're next in this circle of fuckery. That's the best way I can explain it. Because there's nothing to explain what's happening right now, nor is anybody saying anything about what's happening right now.
Right.
Like, did Alex Jones have a broadcast? Did anybody listen to him? Because he's him or Glenn Beck. One of them conspiracy kings are going to have something about this. Because if they don't even know what it is, I call bullshit. Because that means that a source and not a person knows what's going on then. Which means either it's so secret that they don't want to say, or they want to confuse us on purpose and send us down these blank mission rabbit holes. Either way, I'm not happy.
Mm.
Just saying.
You see. Interesting. Because what are the chances that this is aligning with the same time framing as was all of the weird kind of fuckery along the same line for the last 3 years?
Yep. And to cause chaos, mass chaos right now, too.
Right.
I'm surprised they haven't tried to pull nothing at the Super Bowl.
Oh, come on now. And are they still not telling us what was in, what is it, Kansas? Or
What?
where it's still we thought it was another balloon?
Oh,
but now people are saying, what?
because the first one that flew over Montana got shot over the coast of South Carolina. The second one got shot over the coast of Alaska.
Okay.
Ooh, 35-33. What'd you say the leaked score was, Kaz? They'll probably change it a little bit now.
Right.
But it'd be interesting. 37-34. And Casey has 35, so that already throws it out of the door. But ooh, Eagles wants to do a 2-point conversion.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Ah.
You could talk for hours about
About what?
there's something about it about these topics that are but I mean something's just not sitting right. You should get a lot more information than you weird stuff to make you think what is it.
Right. I
Like is
feel
there
that.
something in materials? You know, is there biological weapons mixed in there? They want us to go collect them and shoot them down. You know, all types of stuff.
Right, right.
That's what I mean. Close enough to the script, Cavs. I'm with you on that. Because, like I said, now that it got out, people are probably changing it a little bit. People have seen these objects quite a bit, but like I said, this last one was octagonal. I wanted to say octagonal, but I don't think that's the right word. I think octagonal would be the correct way to say it.
Okay.
I don't know for sure. Somebody wants to correct me, but I'd say octagonal. But anyway, it was octagon, which the other ones were round. I don't know if that makes a difference, but I'm just reporting on it. So I have heard from
But I saw
Tyler
that a report
from
saying that
security team.
one that everybody was talking about, it was different. They kept saying it's different. And I was seeing a lot of like
He's good,
videos.
security team said. Has he talked about the balloons at all, Cats? Because, like I said, I haven't seen no videos, but it's time to start trying to find some breakdown on it.
Right?
Because no one's talking. Dredge had a few articles, Dredge
I've seen
Report,
a
and that's
couple,
been about it to find information.
I've seen a couple like videos of people saying it's not the same as the balloon. It's something different, that there's still airspace blocked off, that they still have military in the area, blah blah blah. People still aren't allowed around in there and stuff. And I just rewatched the movie The Mist. Not The Mist. I think it's just called Mist. But I just rewatched that shit, and holy scary as shit. Like, it is exactly what would happen if like an earthquake hit us and Dulcie opened up and just like started spilling out in mist.
Oh, you're going to give the biggest hot take. Okay. Dark Sage, I want to hear it. I mean, at this point, we got to say what we think. I mean, you might as well put it out there. I mean, is anything really that crazy anymore?
No.
I mean, when you really think about it. I mean, we've got, balloons. And I got
Right. Right. No, that's true. That's true. Okay, so also,
Exactly, Cass. No. The correct answer is no.
all right. So speaking of being able to talk on these topics for hours. Let's get into the book some this evening because I want to get at least partially halfway. I'm hoping through Candy tonight. And Candy's going to really kind of pick up as far as like wanting to pay attention because Candy's not like your everyday Joe, like our last case history was like with Pele and Nielsen and Ryder. Like Candy is going to be more the MK Ultra lineup.
What the heck?
Welcome back.
Yeah, they kicked you out. Weird. But I'm back now.
Yeah, so I was just saying that we're going to get into the book because I want to at least get partially through Candy tonight.
Right.
And Candy is going to be good because Candy is going to help keep interest a little bit better with case histories because she is more MK Ultra than the rest of the case histories, and she's going to be more Hollywood, out in the open, singer, actress type stuff than what Pele and Nielsen was. Right?
Right.
So her little thing is public disclosure of some aspects of MK Ultra activity could induce serious adverse reactions in U.S. public opinion. CIA Inspector General Shefflin and Upton. Now, we're going to jump into the case history of Candy Jones. This is still coming out of Secret Don't Tell, the Encyclopedia of Hypnotism, and it is by Carla Emery. We have full permission, but it must be read in full and it can't be changed. We can discuss and we can toss around what she has given us the knowledge of in this book. But the book has to be mentioned, she has to be mentioned, and it has to be done in the manner in which that we're doing it. Also, please note that she had to go into hiding to write this, and she remained in hiding to finish it, and she is now departed from this world after finishing it. So, keeping all of that and bearing that in mind as we push forward with the case history of Candy Jones. A small box sat on the table. Wires ran from it to her wrist to her shoulder. They shocked her. It hurt terribly. They shocked her over and over and asked question after question about the story of her life and her CIA link. She didn't know about any CIA link. The torturers would not believe her. They shocked her again. They asked, what about Dr. Jensen? Do you know a Dr. Jensen? You've asked me enough. You should know, she groaned. Why don't you just kill me? Why do you keep me here like this? To somebody in Washington, D.C., what those interrogators were doing to Candy Jones was just an experiment to see if the programming of a hypno courier held up under torture. Childhood, youth, and career. Candy was born in 1925, 2 years after barbiturates first came on the drug market. Her birth name was Jessica Wilcox. Her mother was a homemaker. Her father was a good-looking Polish Catholic who advanced from being a ticket taker when he met her mother to being a car salesman in Atlantic City when he left her mother. Candy was 3 when Daddy stopped coming home. The mother and her child then went to live with Grandmama in Wilkes-Barre, Pennsylvania. This year was 1928. Grandma was wealthy, well-educated, pleasant-natured, and an osteopathic physician. Mother taught Jessica to sew, draw, swim, ride, and use good manners. Dinner was always at 5, an occasion for which to dress. During the meal, a little girl could speak only if spoken to. She had books, a cat, a dog, and playmates at their summer home on a lake. In winter, however, only her pets and sometimes the cook's little girl Snowflake played with her. Mother did not allow her to bring friends home from school. They would mess up the house. The child loved to play in Grandma's room, dress up in her clothes, sit in front of her big dressing table. She did that almost every day. The dressing table had pull-out mirrors that could surround her on all 3 sides, displaying 7 images of little Jessica. One day she played tea party on the dressing table top and invited imaginary friends. The image is in the mirror. She was innocently performing a kind of self-hypnosis. Bright, imaginative children often do. Staring into a mirror invites trance at any age. Children and teenagers are most susceptible to induction. You focus, your mind becomes blank, and there's something about staring closely into eyes, especially your own. She was innocently performing, Jessica's tea party mirror playmates developed into an imaginary club. Dottie, pronounced Dottie, a child's pronunciation of Dorothy. Arlene, Willie, and Pansy. As time went by, she did not need the mirror anymore to play with them, and Pansy was a good girl, quiet and nice. Willie was a boy who stomped his feet if he did not get his way, and Dottie tended to fight with Arlene. Arlene was the fastest runner, the highest climber, and the strongest swimmer. In the club, she had a domineering personality and was always trying to run things. Grandmama died in 1936. Jessica was 11. Mother and daughter then moved back to Atlantic City for the next 5 years. The young girl's life was uneventful, sheltered, protected, and closely supervised by her mother. In the wider world, there was war in Europe, then the Japanese bombed Pearl Harbor, and we were in the war too. In 1941, Jessica graduated from high school. She wanted to be a doctor like Grandmama, but her mother would not pay for her to attend college. Mother told her to go to secretarial school instead. Jessica was not interested. Candy Jones, model. In June of 1941, Jessica Wilcox entered the Miss Atlantic City contest. She was the Girl Scouts candidate, and she won. Atlantic City hosted the Miss America pageant at that time. Jessica was not a contestant in the big show, but she marched in the parade and had many hostess duties because she was Miss Atlantic City. Her long blonde hair, perfect features, tall, long-legged frame, bosomy contour, and sweet disposition attracted attention among the mob of newspapers and media people there to watch Miss America be chosen. The attention turned into an astonishing rush of enthusiastic press attention. By the close of the pageant, Jessica was surrounded by reporters and radio personalities begging for an interview or a photo. One of the contest judges was John Powers, founder of the famous Powers Modeling Agency. He invited her to come to New York and work for his agency. Thank you. To her mother's distress, Jessica accepted, and she hung around the Powers stable for 2 weeks, but received only 2 photo jobs. The pay was $5 each. One day on her off time, while waiting for a friend at the other big modeling agency in town, Harry Conover's her big break came. Conover was a top male model who had founded his own agency and soared from model to modeling mogul. A photographer walked in, saw her, and spoke of her to Harry. Harry walked out, took a look at the blonde sitting in his reception area, and the magic began. Conover bought the blonde's contract from Powers. He transformed Jessica Wilcox into Candy Jones, bankrolling a media blitz based on a red and white candy stripe theme. Candy had red and white striped clothing, accessories, jewelry, matchbook covers, and bicycle. Conover showered Manhattan with 10,000 red and white striped business cards, which said Candy Jones was here. It worked. Warner Brothers Studios signed her up. She started getting calls to post for magazine covers and to appear in glitzy ads for products with big budgets. Her mother gave up on secretarial school for her and moved to New York to live with and chaperone Candy. In 1943, Candy was voted Model of the Year. Loretta Young was a judge on the panel. She said Candy looked like a real girl. The guys in the trenches also thought so. Photos of the tall blonde in a polka dot bikini were pinned up everywhere. There were GIs. A photo of her in a formal dress stitched from transparent parachute nylon was equally well received. Candy took acting and voice lessons and won a leading role in the smash Broadway play Mexican Hayride, produced by Mike Todd. It ran for 8 months, and she was the model used on recruiting posters for the new branches of the military in which women could serve. WACS. And waves. In 1 month of that amazing year of 1943, her picture was on the cover of 11 magazines. Esther Books published Hypnotism in 1943, a book which urged government use of unknowing hypno-programmed agents. Lieutenant Candy Jones, the USO offered Candy an opportunity to tour through the Southwest Pacific in a show written around her. She accepted to the task of bringing evenings of happiness to weary and homesick GIs fighting in Pacific operations. She became Lieutenant Candy Jones. She began the USO shows in 1944 with a 6-month contract, then signed on for another year, a total of 18 months. While on tour, the beautiful model, performer, stage show manager, and patriot briefly met General Donovan. He was head of the OSS, a new agency which President Roosevelt had authorized at the beginning of the war for the dual task of gathering intelligence, of doing secret scientific research with military operations. April 1945, Candy was presented with a quart of fresh milk brought by airplane from Australia, a rare luxury in the callous Southwest Pacific area. She drank it, but the cow had been sick. The milk had not been pasteurized, and Candy got undiluted fever. With her resistance down from the fever, she also developed active malaria. They put her in the Philippine military hospital, and there, from unclean sheets, she caught a third disease, jungle rot. The rot was a fungus that made her beautiful blonde hair fall out in clumps. The malaria had given her a greenish-yellow skin tone. She looked terrible, but the New York photographers were far away. The medics right then were worried about keeping her alive. While sick on Letty, she encountered a military psychiatrist, Gilbert Jensen. In August 1945, after 4 months of treatment and recuperation, she was well enough to go home. Before she left, Jensen gave her a photo of himself with his APO address written on the back, and he asked her to write. She did not. Back in the States, Candy starred in another interesting. Back in the States, Candy starred in another Broadway musical, a wig and heavy makeup hiding the ravages of illness. It took 8 months more healing before she could pose for photographers again. She married her employer, Harry Conover, on July 4th of 1946. Marrying Candy was a good career move for Harry, and he did not reveal to her his homosexuality. It took 5 months to consummate their marriage, but Candy, who was a virgin and not sophisticated, did not understand the problem until years later. A telephone induction. Candy's busy career included many invitations to guests on the big time talk shows of that radio dominated era. Technology could not yet provide phone interviews with quality sound. Therefore, even for a radio interview, she would have to fly to the broadcast station. In 1946, she accepted an invitation to appear on Don McNeil's Breakfast Club in Chicago. That year, the OSS was recognized as the CIA with the same two missions: secret intelligence gathering and secret scientific research. There, Candy met another person who would be important in her hypno-programmed future. Candy flew in the night before the show, registered at the Drake Hotel, and unpacked. Then the chills hit. The Letty doctor had assured her there would be no more malaria attacks, but this felt like the old nightmare had come back. She went to bed, but the chills got worse. Under a mound of blankets, she was still shivering. She called a staff employee at the Don McNeil Breakfast Club. He visited her, viewed the situation, and promised the doctor, welcome back, would call. Soon after he left, a doctor, Dr. Marshall Berger, did call her on the telephone. Everything okay, G? You good, homie? And there's like this little poster over here that I'm looking at that says U.S. show presenting the Candy Jones show. Coming soon, contact Special Service Officer for details. Okay. Now, the doctor, like Jensen, is known only by a pseudonym. Berger was a psychiatrist who hobnobbed with big names from both the political and entertainment worlds, especially movie stars. He was a dynamic, craggy-faced egotist, and he was a hypnosis. A pioneer and leading authority in the field of medical hypnosis. Bane. There were government-sponsored experimental programs with which he was closely identified. He began working on such programs during World War II and was one of the first doctors to probe the potentials of hypnosis as a tool of war. His sponsor for that project was the Central Intelligence Agency, aka CIA. Bane. As Candy Jones lay alone. What?
Boom.
I don't know. It's cutting you out. I guess.
You said bang.
Mm-hmm.
I said boom.
Oh, it's Bane, like Bain,
Oh, right.
like Poison Ivy's Bane, big dude.
Or how I say Dwayne is the bane of my existence.
Right. Yes. Okay. So, Candy lay alone in her hotel room, shivering under the covers, desperate for relief. Berger talked to her on the telephone. He said he was not able to come see her that night, but that he would drop by the next morning. He told her to count backwards. He said he was trying to relax her. He assured her that if she would just count backwards, she would stop shaking and fall asleep. Berger never told Candy that his relaxation was a hypnotic induction. At the beginning of his induction routine, Berger did not know whether or not Candy was a naturally good hypnotic subject. A hypnotist never knows for sure until he tries. Now he tried. He told her to place the phone on the pillow next to her ear and count down with him. He combined the counting down induction routine with suggestions that her shaking was stopping, her chills going away, her fever dropping. Sleep, sleep, sleep. As she counted backwards with Dr. Berger, Candy's chills did diminish. She did feel sleepier and sleepier and sleepier, and she fell asleep. In the morning, she felt okay. Whatever had caused the problem was now completely gone. She appeared on the Breakfast Club, then flew back to New York. She did not know she had been hypnotized. Berger, however, now knew that Candy Jones was susceptible to hypnosis. Maybe, he told Donovan. Marriage breakup and money problems. In 1947, there was trouble inside the Harry Conover modeling agency. Other models were complaining that Conover showed favoritism to his wife in assigning jobs. Candy solved that one by opening her own agency right next door to Conover's office in the skyscraper called 52 Vanderbilt Avenue. Soon, Candy's agency landed the lucrative Colgate-Palmolive account, and she let Harry bill for her agency as well as his and bank the payments. Candy was also working. She toured overseas again, managing a USO show for USO soldiers fighting in Korea. She continued her modeling career until time took its natural toll and the photographers did not call for her anymore. She published books about glamour, dress, and fashion, and one about her experiences while touring for the USO during World War II. She gave birth to 3 sons, Harry, Chris, and Carrie. I think that's pretty close to what Cass said it was going to be, actually. Um, in 1958, she found out that her husband was bisexual or maybe homosexual, and that explained why he almost never reached out to love her. Soon after that, he disappeared completely, and Candy took responsibility for all debts, including the rent on his office and hers. Then she found out that he had withdrawn all the money from their joint bank accounts before he took off. There had been over 100,000 in there. Now there was only $36. Candy struggled on. She found new sources of income. She began working on the radio, becoming a regular on the popular NBC weekend news program, Monitor. Through her Monitor news interviews, she met people in the entertainment business, politics, and the military. Though naturally of a quiet nature, Candy maintained a socialite's lifestyle, going to Broadway openings and working for charities. She traveled a lot in her business, jetting coast to coast to watch fashion shows and give speeches. Candy wanted her sons to have the best possible education and a stable environment. Since she was working and on the road so much, she enrolled all three of them in an expensive boarding school. She was also supporting her elderly mother and the woman who looked after her without her husband's income. However, all of those expenses were soon more than she could afford. And after a year of desperate financial struggle, Candy finally took her lawyer's advice and sued Harry Conover for repayment of the money he had absconded with, and for alimony, child support, and divorce. Her legal case against him made juicy headlines for the New York daily papers, and in the end, she won. The judge gave Harry a choice of paying or going to jail, but Harry had been giving lavish parties every night for the past year, and now he had no money left. He went to jail for 2 years. Candy now also owed her lawyer a big bill for the court case. CIA recruits a courier. Dr. Berger had moved from the Chicago suburb to Southern California. The clientele for his private practice was now the Hollywood crowd, shapely bodies and opinion shapers to the world. California and New York were centers for CIA mind control experiments in the 1960s, and Berger was part of the program. Bain called him the research project's messiah. Part of Berger's job was training other doctors to be mind control experts for the company. Welcome back.
Thank you.
One of his trainees was Gilbert Jensen. The CIA was then researching a new type of hypo-programmed courier, one with a more unbreachable amnesia than mere hypnotic suggestion could achieve, an artificially split personality. Gilbert Jensen would be creating and managing a unit of these unknowing agents. Unknowing agents, y'all. Unknowing.
Wow.
Okay, this is a case history. So I want to again point this out. Case history does not mean that this has been made up. This means that this has happened and has been recorded.
True.
Okay, this is somebody's life that this has actually happened to. We are not just pulling this out of the air and making this up.
Right.
I just think that that's really important for people to remember as I'm going through the case history. This is not like a, conspiracy theory or, oh, yeah, okay, they said. No, this is case history. This is recorded. This is released. This happened to this woman. And I just felt that that was important for people to understand. And that these are unknowing agents. Again, people are like, oh, they can't do stuff to people that don't know. Right here in the case history, unknowing agents.
System.
That means you too are a guinea pig, whether you want to be or not. Candy was a celebrity, a patriot, single, traveled in her business, and badly needed money. She must have seemed a good prospect for recruitment because in 1960, strange things began to happen at 52 Vanderbilt Avenue, where Candy now ran her modeling school agency and what was left of the Conover agency from room 808. The events seemed unimportant at the time. Maybe some of them were truly irrelevant. But looking back, there was an obvious pattern of deceit and manipulation, a sinister web of entrapment starting to weave about Candy Jones. An odd burglary. Heavyweight boxing champion Gene Tumney had been Candy's neighbor across the hall for years. One day, Candy noticed a cleaning lady standing outside Tooney's door. She appeared to be trying to figure out which one of a set of keys fit his door. The next day, Gene told Candy that his office had been broken into the night before. He said no harm had been done. A few days later, Candy ran into General Donovan, now retired, in the building lobby. Although they were barely acquainted, Donovan acted quite familiar. He told Candy he was meeting Tumney for lunch. Since he was quite early, Candy invited the general to tour her school while he was waiting. Then she took him over to Tumney's office. Several days later, a man visited Candy's office, claiming to be an FBI agent who was investigating the burglary of Tumney's office. He walked over to a microphone laying on Candy's window ledge, picked it up, and looked it over. "What do you use this for?" he asked. Candy told him that Alan Funt of Canadian camera fame had given her that mic, and a very advanced type in its technology. Her models recorded public speaking assignments using it, so they could learn how they sounded to other people. "It's just what we need for a stakeout over on 57th, the FBI man said. "Can we borrow it?" Candy gave her permission. Mail service. The FBI man showed up at her office a month later along with an associate. The two men asked Candy if they could use her office address to receive some of their mail. If any mail came for them, she was to call a certain phone number and report the fact. Candy consented. After that, mail did come once in a while for them. She also called the designated phone number when it did so. A favor for Donovan. Once in a while, Donovan now invited her to a party. In November of 1960, the general called to ask a favor in some way, which he did not divulge to her. He had found out that Candy was scheduled to soon fly out to Denver and speak, then fly on to San Francisco to view a big fashion show. The general asked her to carry an important letter on the trip to an unnamed person who would come to her hotel room in San Francisco to claim it. Candy asked Donovan to what governmental agency this anonymous person belonged. The general would not answer that question. He said that the visitor himself would explain. Mm. Sorry, Candy agreed to carry the letter. Her last exit was about to be sealed off. After she received the mysterious letter at her office, Candy stuffed it into her handbag and flew to Denver. She gave her speech there, then proceeded San Francisco, where she attended the fashion show. Then she waited in her hotel room for the promised visitor, who was to come and take it from her. It was November 16th, 1960. Yes, I have seen about the meteor and all the close by asteroids lately too. Don't look up. The man who knocked at her hotel room door turned out to be Gil Jensen, the military psychiatrist she had met on Levy. She offered him the letter, but he refused to take it. First, he wanted Candy to dine with him at a nice restaurant. She graciously accepted his invitation. That evening, Jensen seemed to her much less at ease and less happy than he had been back in the Philippines. Nevertheless, he was obviously trying hard and managed to make pleasant conversation. It greatly helps the first hypnotic induction if the subject likes the hypnotist and trusts him. He told Candy about his private practice over in Oakland. In turn, she told him about her divorce, her sons, the modeling business, the terrible financial pressures. Once he got Candy started talking, Jensen listened attentively, speaking only to encourage her whenever she seemed about to stop. The proposition. It was getting late again. Candy tried to give him the letter. Again, Jensen would not take it. He said that tomorrow at his office would be a better time to talk about the letter. Candy objected. She needed to get home to New York. Finally, when it was clear that she was not going to stay another day for any reason he had given her so far, Jensen came out with the big persuader. He said, "There's some interesting work if you could do for the Central Intelligence Agency, Candy, without interfering with your business. It could be lucrative." That was different. Candy was always looking for a way to earn money. She agreed to come to Jensen's office the next day. The next morning, a car driver picked her up at the hotel. It drove her across the Bay Bridge to Jensen's office in Oakland, the place where Candy would be hypnotized, drugged, and hypno-programmed, far from friends, family, or employees back in New York. The chauffeur helped her out of the limousine and then departed. Candy stood alone on the sidewalk, looking around her. She was outside a two-story brick building in a rundown neighborhood. Adjacent was a green three-story one. Candy was surprised that the psychiatrist's office had no sign to inform passers-by that a doctor worked there, and the house did not even have an identifying street number. "Hello, Ellie. You're getting a sippy sip, I see. Good sips?" She climbed the 3 wooden steps leading to the front door, opened it, and stepped inside. She was now in a small reception room. The only furniture was 2 straight-back chairs and a table. She sat down in one chair. Magazines were stacked on the tabletops, more than a year old. The light in the room was almost too dim for the reading, but she could see that all of the magazine address labels had been torn off. Jensen came in. He greeted her cordially and led her from the reception room into his office. That room had only one window, shielded from street observation by heavy drapes. A gooseneck lamp with an unshaded, brightly burned bulb was its only source of light. "And does the light bother you?" Gilbert asked. "Yes," Candy said. He twisted the gooseneck flexible shaft a bit, which made no real difference. There were shaded lamps in the room, but none of them were turned on, and he did not offer to switch to one of them. "Would you like a tour of the office?" he asked. She politely accepted his offer. He led her into a small adjacent room. It had a raised examination table in the center, a white medical cabinet against the wall, and one straight back chair. Candy did not think much of it, but she kept those thoughts to herself. He then led her back to the room where the single bare light bulb burned, seated himself behind the desk, and began to ask her personal questions. Candy did not feel comfortable. She wanted this conversation to stop. She wanted to get out of there. What she had expected to happen today was a job interview, not just a conversation between acquaintances. She was not bold enough, however, to ask him to get to the point. She kept answering his questions. He asked about her childhood. Candy said it was lonely. When she told him about the club and her imaginary playmates, Dr. Jensen suddenly showed eager interest. He wanted her to tell him more and yet more about each member of the club, so she told him all about quiet, nice Dottie, and Willie, who stopped, and Arlene, who was strong and domineered. Candy desperately wanted to get the interview over with, head home, and be back in New York by the night. She had delayed her return only because Jensen had offered a lucrative job and she needed money. She asked, "What sort of work am I being hired to do, and with whom will I be working?" "The unit?" Jensen asked. "I don't know," Candy said. "The general told me that you would fill me in." Jensen ignored her question. He went back to asking about her imaginary friends in childhood. "Candy signs up. Candy had arrived at Jensen's office in the mid-morning. Now it was 1 p.m. She said, "I really must go." Jensen ignored her request. He began a new series of questions, this time about her social life. Do you date? Do you go to cocktail parties? Do you travel? Candy said that she seldom attended parties. She did travel a great deal for her business and did not socialize much at home or elsewhere. He finally offered her the job. "We could work something out with you from time to time. Candy, if you perform services for us during your travels." "What sort of services?" "Carry a message now and then. That's all." Jensen assured Candy she would be paid to carry those messages. He said that she could go back to New York now, and he would ask any other questions that he had the next time she happened to come to San Francisco. Now, mind-splitting use for imaginary childhood playmates. This is like a big excerpt here. So the government was pursuing exactly that line of research, creating an artificially split personality out of an imaginary childhood playmate. Josephine Hilgard's 1970 book, Personality and Hypnosis, states that a person with an imaginary childhood playmate tends to have significant hypnotic susceptibility. Research supported by grants from NIMH, the Air Force Office of Scientific Research, etc. An imaginary childhood playmate is a marker for hypnotic susceptibility. It can also be a point of fracture for artificial personality splitting. A CIA memo said that the candidate must be in the top 20% of hypnotic susceptibility and must have a dissociative tendency to separate part of his personality from the main body of his consciousness. The hope was to take an existing ego state, such as an imaginary childhood playmate, and build it into a separate personality unknown to the first. The hypnotist would communicate directly with the schizophrenic offshoot and command it to carry out specific deeds about which the main personality would know nothing. Quoted in Marx, The Search for the Manchurian Candidate. The concept was that the hypnotist would transform that childhood nucleus of rejected blocked traits and impulses into the core of a subconscious isolate. When there was a choice of more than one childhood playmate, the split would be built into the toughest, meanest one. Boert told Schifflin and Upton that all the military hypnoprogram persons that he had located and interviewed had been beaten or abused by one of their parents when they were young. To escape, they created imaginary personalities, which a clever hypnotist then used against them. Schifflin and Upton, 1978. Oh no. I need a new battery. Can you help me? Yeah. The concept was that the hypnotist would transform. Oh, sorry. RJ, a former Ranger and Vietnam Special Forces retiree, told me in 1991 everyone who is going into any branch of the military takes the military aptitude test, the MAT. It asks several questions along those lines. Did you have imaginary playmates? How old were you when you quit playing with your imaginary friend? After you have decided on your military occupational status, you take another test. People going into special forces are asked the same questions. Did you have imaginary playmates? Plus additional ones along the same line. Was that imaginary friend more or less aggressive than you? And there are questions about discipline. Did your parents spank you? Did you feel resentment when your parents spanked you? Almost every person who goes into a special forces unit has had a childhood imaginary friend.
I don't remember those questions.
I did. He was a mean guy.
You wanted help.
Hold on. I'm lightless. And now we're back. He did things I couldn't do. RJ was a completely nice guy in his friendship with me, but he had that mean guy tucked away in his unconscious memories, which embodied parental authoritarian aggression and violence combined with repressed childhood rage and resentment. Arlene was Candy's equivalent of RJ's mean guy. The CIA was not looking for a neurotic. For best programming results, the imaginary playmate must be part of a strong, normal personality, not a disorder, weak one. Brainwashing experts have learned that normal people reprogram easier and shape into a better product than neurotics. Candy had a strong, normal personality. Now, that was a little thing. Picking back up over here, he was going to ask her more questions next time they met up in San Francisco. But first, he wanted her to fill out a form. He pulled a paper and pen out of his drawer and pushed them toward her. Candy then signed a security oath, which officially made her an employee of the government, and as such, she forfeited her right to legal compensation for the harm done her by the ruthless mind control operation. Wow. Just wow. So by signing that document, Candy had joined Jensen's unit. She had become one of thousands of part-time CIA employees. Such employees were not listed in headquarters records. Jensen became her control agent, her only CIA contact. His unit was the people he controlled. The CIA would thereafter be referred to only as the company. Then Jensen had a few more things Candy must do before she could go. He traced her silhouette on a length of brown paper with a black pen as she stood against the wall with the paper behind her. He said that it would sometimes be necessary for her to travel using a passport with a false name. He asked her to choose the name, to choose something that felt comfortable, natural. For the first name, she chose Arlene, which was a variant spelling of her middle name, Arlene, and the name of one of her imaginary playmates. For the last name, she chose Grant, which is a part of her grandmother's name, Rosa Grant. Jensen said that a photographer would come to her hotel room and take photos for her passport. Then the doctor asked, what did Arlene look like? Candy said that Arlene had looked just like her, except darker brunette rather than blonde, when she saw her in the mirror as a little girl. The hypnosis begins. Disguise induction. Jensen next asked her about her health. Candy said, I'm fine. The psychiatrist said, you look like you need vitamins. Candy said, my doctor back in New York gives me B12. Gilbert said, I know better vitamins than B12, and he urged Candy to get into tip-top condition to endure her coming rigors of world travel. Candy agreed to do that. Then she pulled out a cigarette and lit it. Jensen said, that is not a healthy habit. Why haven't you quit? Candy said, I've tried, but I can't. Bain does not mention Candy sipping a beverage while smoking that cigarette, but it seems likely from what follows that Jensen applied some chemical persuasion, a neurohypnotic drug dropped into her drink before his coming disguised induction. For Candy seems unusually susceptible to what follows. Even for a natural somnambulist, she had been there all day. It was past lunchtime. She must have been both hungry and thirsty. If Jensen gave her a beverage about this time, which contained an oral dose of barbiturate, after about half an hour, she would have been thoroughly under its influence, extra susceptible to hypnotic induction. Jensen then discoursed at length on methods to quit smoking, including hypnosis. Candy said she could not be hypnotized. Jensen asked if she had ever tried. No, Candy said, but she was sure she was not susceptible. Jensen knew, because of those imaginary friends, that she was wrong, but he did not tell her. See, this is a trick they like to pull. They don't tell you, right? They just want to, keep it to themselves. They don't say anything, and then you end up feeling like you're crazy, and you're not. But that's part of the hypnosis. Okay. Actually, she's totally lost cell service, apparently. So I don't know what's going on with that. He sat back in his chair and clasped his hands on his chest. You're probably right about that, he said. There are lots of people who can't be hypnotized. He then launched into a quiet lecture on the evils of hypnosis as practiced by charlatans and quacks, coming down especially hard on the stage hypnotists. I'm really dedicated to putting a stop to the misuse of hypnosis, Candy. Dedicated to it, by the way. Would you like to see how some people practice hypnosis? Candy nodded. Jensen stood up and led her on another tour of his office. He was taking a long time and being very patient with this first induction. He could have ordered 3 strong men to hold her down, while he shoved a needle full of barbiturate into her vein, which would send her straight down on a deep trance. Hypno-programming resting on a foundation like that, however, would be on a more unstable base. For his preferred outcome, Jensen needed to seduce Candy into the first induction in an atmosphere of friendship. If a hypnosis can get a few sincere yeses from a prospective mind control victim before they begin to apply the harsher aspects of programming, a more effective unconscious basis for long-term control has been established. Therefore, Jensen acted very pleasant as he took her on this second tour, chatting all the while about his plans to help with the crackdown on people who try to hypnotize people, entertainers, and all that. See what he's doing, y'all? Coming out of his face, being a liar hole, talking about he's trying to save her, blah, blah, blah. Meanwhile, he is the devil, right? Okay. Like, he is the man that you should be afraid of, as he's telling you, I don't support these people and what they do. He is those people. Blatantly out and out is those people that he's trying to convince her she needs to stay away from. And of course he's going to do that, right? Because he needs to protect, like, the investment. He needs to protect against her going and speaking to others. He needs to keep her from going outside of the circle, so to speak. I mean, I'm going to assume that that's what's going on, because that's exactly how Scarlett and I have researched it, and from what I know of hypnotism, being a certified hypnotist, this is very disturbing. Because even when I got my certification in hypnotism, welcome back again, yay!
Yay!
They were still trying to tell us, like, you couldn't hypnotize anybody that didn't want to be hypnotized, or you couldn't make them do anything that they didn't want to do. And, you know, when I first took the class, I believe that. And now that I've done the research that I've done, and we did the shows that we did on JiF and Clarity a few years ago, we found out already then that that was lies, manipulation from their liar holes.
Liar holes.
So
I never know when they're gonna put me out, so I gotta get my little comment.
Right, I feel you, G. We're in some pretty deep shit right now. So, induction hardware, right? Jensen had now led Candy into a section of the building which he had not shown her before. As the two walked around, the psychiatrist demonstrated item after item of a truly remarkable collection of hypnotic induction gadgets. Some people, some very sophisticated, some simple, and some very sophisticated. He patiently showed her how a hypnotist would use each one in order to induce a trance in somebody, if they were able to be hypnotized. Although I know you can't be. He demonstrated pendulum, candle, and metronome inductions, which, see, this makes me almost double registered, because I am a certified hypnotist and I'm also a certified pendulum dowser, or a certified dowser is actually what's on my certification, is certified dowser, which means I can douse with not just pendulums. I've been trained to douse with other items, but I prefer pendulums. My specialty is pendulums. And yeah. So pendulums being one of the things that is used for induction, I almost feel like, you know, ooh, double threat.
But that's always the stereotype of hypnosis too. Like, you are getting sleepy.
Well,
like that
it is
stereotype
kind of like
hypnosis.
that, because you do have to give you know, you have to plant the seed of what you want. So, you know, I mean, like, if you want them to go to sleep, yeah, you can say that, but usually, typically, if you're trying to do it in a more, like, I don't know, you know, the whole, like, go to sleep thing, I feel is very Hollywood rated,
That's
because,
what
like,
I'm saying, like stereotypical. You know what I
yeah,
mean? Like what
because you
they
don't need
taught
to,
you.
Right. You wouldn't really necessarily say sleepy, which we've talked about before. Like, you would more be like, you're in a relaxed state. You're staring at a blank screen. A small black box appears on the white screen. You're focusing on the black box. Do you see what I mean? Like, you're
Right.
in a. I don't want to finish that.
No, because I was like, bitch, you was put us to sleep. Fuck you.
Right.
We wouldn't have fights about you staying up late. You'd just be like,
It is that
Well, you
easy.
should start hypnotizing him so that he'll stop bitching. Can you do that?
Listen,
nope, that is.
I could, but see, if I do that, it's morally wrong. So
Right.
then I have to base the creator on what I did to nullify the husband's bitching.
No, it's
Right.
that
I mean,
You see,
I mean, you feel like you could resist, but I don't know, man.
Fulfilling my husband to God. I don't want to do that.
I mean, I feel like he feels like he could resist, but I don't know, man.
Okay, you and I both know he was in the military, thus he can't resist. He's literally written to obey.
That's what I mean. So it's like he can't
And he
resist.
denies that. And, again, as we know, he will because he has no idea and believes, none of this is real. But as we just covered, the very test that they give him to put him into the military is to find out if they can experiment on his ass.
I didn't take those tests.
Yes, you did.
Everybody
You can't
takes the
go
test.
into the military without taking the MET test.
I didn't take that one. Never heard of it.
How you can take that?
It's a military test.
Never
Yeah,
took
how
it.
you didn't take the test?
I took the ASVAB. I didn't.
That's
take
the
that.
ASFAB. That's what we're talking about. Did
All
you
those
miss
tests are the
that?
same.
We just
Mental
said
mental
that.
acuity.
The ASFAB is literally invented to
It's the
find
same
out
thing.
how
It's the same thing.
controllable you are.
Yeah, what level you can be, what level you can be controlled until, yeah. They know pretty much right away if they're going to move you up the ranks to the top or not.
Yeah, they know from those tests what's going down.
That's the truth, yeah. That's why they keep people who they know who would step out of line at the bottom. Like people who would eventually break off or have their own ideas. Never
But
get
again,
never get raises in the military, never
he's
get high up
always going to defend
positions.
himself that he's not controllable, just like every
You
other.
have to be in the military, though. You have to be. You had to be broken down to even be there. So, no.
Yeah, we know the truth.
Yeah, we know. That's
He's
yeah.
still in denial. It's okay, peanut gallery. One day,
One day.
one day, your shit will start breaking down too. You'll hit 40, and walls will start breaking down. You'll be like, "Holy
Right,
fuck!"
right. First, you must. The first step of change is you must acknowledge. The first step of denial is acknowledge.
Right. See how is it double threat? Either way, win-win.
Right.
Fuck.
But it's true though. It's a lot of people are though. People in HR, people who have HR positions have a lot of that
Hey, no. What are you trying
technique
to say?
trained who go to school. When you go to school to be an HR person, they teach you a lot of things that are
Oh,
for my control.
that's true.
Yeah, because you have to be able to manage people.
Weird socialist class to begin with. Like, no matter what you're choosing to do anymore, there's like this weird socialism class now that they put you in.
Well, yeah, to be an HR person is even worse because they teach you all the psychology tricks and how to manipulate people and get them to do what you want. And so there's a lot of jobs like that, to be fair, manager positions,
Right.
Corporate positions. Lots of people are in positions like that
Right.
because it works.
Correct.
It just works.
So, last of all, Gilbert brought her to the big mirror. He knew that whatever or whoever has hypnotized a person before tends to keep that ability, and he had learned that morning that Candy Jones hypnotized herself as a child by staring into a big mirror. He now suggested that she sit down on the chair in front of his mirror. She obediently sat looking at a reflected image, and she stared into the mirror. He led the conversation back to Arlene. They were talking again about Arlene. At that time, she was merely talking about Arlene. She was not yet being Arlene. As Candy looked in the mirror and talked about Arlene, she slipped down to a trance level of consciousness. Drug inductions. After the mirror induction, Dr. Jensen told Candy to lie down on his examination room table. There he gave the blonde celebrity her first dose of vitamins, quote unquote. Years later, her second husband, John Neville, found himself playing Jensen's role in her spontaneous self-inductions and regressions to this era of her life. John did not question the vitamins she repeatedly mentioned until he realized that Jensen had given them to Candy by IV into the big vein inside the elbow rather than by injection into the muscle of an arm or buttock. Then John became suspicious. One day he discovered what Candy was really given. John, the bottle is hanging on the stand. Candy, like they used to have. John, like intravenous feeding. Candy, John, the bottle's upside down, isn't it? Candy looks up and squints. Isn't it upside down? Candy, surprised. Yeah. John, what's it say on the label? Candy, after a long pause. I'm reading it backwards. John, yeah, I know. What's it say? Candy, halting as though trying to make out the word. Amytal. John, that's the first word. Candy, must be sodium. John, sodium? Does it say the name of pharmaceutical company on the label? Candy, I think it says Warner. Candy's conditioning and training. Candy's conditioning by Dr. Jensen was grounded in 3 narrow hypnotic immersions, vitamins, at his Oakland office, 2 in late 1960, the 3rd in early 1961. Each immersion lasted for hours. During the narco-hypnotic immersion, basic suggestions would have been made for a reinduction cue and for future amnesia regarding that and all subsequent hypnotic events. See, so here we go again with you're going to do shit and you're totally never going to remember it. And it's going to be embedded into your mind and you're not even going to know it's there. And one day, something that you see and or hear and or put together in some manner or another that you were trained to do in a fashion that you don't even know can set you off into a series of events that you won't even recognize nor remember and know nothing of what you did. Ooh, right, Ellie? Nobody wants that. Then the subject would have been pulled out of the trance and tested to see if the reinduction cue and amnesia suggestions were working as planned. Only when he knew that her amnesia was firmly in place and that his reinduction cue was operational would Jensen have let Candy go back to New York. Over the next months, the CIA experimenter developed Candy's somnambulistic amnesia and obedience under a continuing series of those narco-hypnotic immersions. But even the power of suggestions given to a drug subject did not satisfy him. Somnambulist amnesia blocks can be lifted by competing hypnosis rehypnotization. Jensen was experimenting with creating a new kind of amnesia, one that was even harder to overcome than suggestions for amnesia given under narco hypnosis. He wanted to make Candy Jones into an artificially split personality. Now, Scarlett and I have already done a lot of research into this artificial personality splitting thing. And this is a very for real government experiment. In the more recent opening and dump of release of the Volt information, we found out I don't know. It could be. You never know. Anything to do with Epstein, honestly, would not even surprise me anymore. Epstein could even be a victim of mind control. I mean, I know we all want him to be the boogeyman and we need him to be, but perhaps that was exactly what he was invented for, eh? It seems that these people are built in with these things so that we get a boogeyman in every situation, one way or another. You know, I mean, like I said, I know that we need somebody to be the bad guy, and him and her did some really, really bad and really, really awful shit. But again, the part that we have not looked into or given any thought to is the possibility that maybe they were actually not in control of their own actions. Perhaps they were unaware to a large degree of what they were even doing. Perhaps they were nothing more than another governmental experiment, and they actually have no clue and they have amnesia of said events. Now, do I necessarily believe that? No, because, you know, you see stuff where they've got, you know, pictures hanging in their house. It's like, what the hell is that? And who the hell has that kind of shit? But, you know, again, to each their own, and whatever you do, you do. But it's not right, and something's wrong, and it doesn't add up. But, you know, I mean, it is a openly possible thing. Well, she's pregnant, so yeah, of course. So back to our thing here. So we know that as of the last Volt reading that we did, artificial personality splitting, they absolutely did get a handle on it, and they definitely can split you down into multiple personalities. That is a thing. So artificial personality splitting, the moment that Jensen heard Candy describe Arlene's personality characteristics of strength, dominance, and aggressiveness, he knew which member of the club he would build into a separate personality. Jensen wanted an agent who could be in a deep trance but could pass for somebody awake and normal. It can be assumed that the CIA wanted a split with the advantage of knowing all of both personalities' lives, whereas the root self, Candy, would know nothing of her second hypnotic life. By artificial personality splitting, they hope to achieve both goals, the waking hypnosis and one-way amnesia. To accomplish that splitting, Jensen would use narco hypnosis and intense hypnotic training, followed by insistent repeated suggestions for Arlene to come out. The psychiatrist told Candy that the drug was vitamins to strengthen her body, the neural remnant of Arlene left in Candy's mind from childhood. However, soon realized the truth. Jensen was after her. Jensen found the plan hard to carry out. Although Candy's conscious mind was drugged and unconscious, the neurons in her brain, which contained the matrix of her childhood, Arlene persona, resisted Jensen's invitation to become self conscious and independent. Jensen persisted. One day, after an extra strength, extra long drug session, and many insisting verbal summonses, as Candy lay in deep drug trance on the examining table in his inner office, the CIA doctor finally succeeded. Suddenly, Candy felt severe stomach pain. Jensen had told Arlene to come up through Candy's stomach. Thereafter, Candy always felt that same pain at the moment she switched personalities and Arlene came out. A psychosomatic conversation of her resistance. Arlene, and all of a sudden I was able to say a few words and start to talk again. John laughing, and was he surprised? Arlene. He backed away. I got a hold of his arm, and then he said, John, you mean Dr. Jensen's arm? Arlene, yes, with my left hand. And I pulled him over, and he said, let go. And he said, what are you trying to do? And he said, Candy, stop that. And I said, this is Arlene. And he said, you're hurting me. A pleased laugh, and I was. And he said, good God, you're strong. John, meaning you, Arlene? Arlene, yes. And he said, you're Arlene. And I said, who were you expecting? Candy had no conscious memory of that conversation. From then on, she was broken and separated. Her split and all its subsequent experiences were walled off by amnesia from her. Although Jensen was always somewhat afraid of Arlene, he continued to call her out and train her. It was his job. In that early conditioning stage, Arlene sometimes resisted her cue, AG, 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 to materialize. Jensen had to use drug induction again and again to cause Arlene Grant to appear if Katie's mind refused the splitting command. Even when drugged, then Jensen would resort to more and more barbiturate. Once, he almost killed her. John, did you ever fail to come out? Arlene, yes, becoming intense. Lots of times I wouldn't. John, and what did Jensen do? Arlene, give her another shot. John, another shot. What was the most number of shots she ever got in one day? Arlene, he gave her 3 once and she couldn't wake up and he got scared. John, how long was she out? Arlene, she wasn't out. She was asleep. She slept for about 14 hours. Later, Jensen fully conditioned the neuronal matrix called Arlene to completely take over at his verbal cue. He would see Candy in a darkened room in front of a candle in front of a big mirror. The CIA technician would light the candle and then say, look in the mirror and see Arlene. When Candy peered into the depths of the reflective glass, she would always see Arlene. Then Candy would be gone. Wherever displaced personalities go, and Arlene would have the body. Then Jensen simplified the process yet more. He left out the candle. He would simply say to Candy, look in the mirror, or ask her, do you want to see what Arlene looks like? Either statement now cued the displacement of the Candy personality by the Arlene split. Candy would always look in the mirror when Jensen suggested it. She always wanted to see what Arlene looked like, and the moment she looked in Jensen's mirror, Arlene would always emerge and displace her. Hey! For the rest of Candy's life, both herselves, Candy and Arlene, had conscious separate existences. In one important way, however, their lives were completely different. Candy's part of the mind slept on the shelf, non existent, dead, when she was Arlene. Arlene, on the other hand, was conscious all the time, thinking, feeling, aware, whether she had the body or not. Arlene went everywhere that Candy went. She was the hidden observer, noticing and remembering all that Candy thought and did. Arlene was so powerful and yet so helpless, for all she could do was watch and listen and know the real truth, the whole truth. Arlene only controlled the body with its physical abilities to speak and walk when Jensen summoned her out to do his bidding. When she was called out, she was in a condition of waking trance, capable only of absolute obedience. Arlene was Jensen's genie, hidden in the bottle of Candy's mind. Jensen released her only when he had use for her. The experiment had succeeded. A celebrity, Candy Jones, captured by deceit and disguised induction, now was an unknowing CIA-controlled hypnotic subject. Her artificially created hypno-self, Arlene, acted as the knowing, loyal, secret agent completely hidden within the unknowing mind of the original root self of Candy, unless activated by Jensen. Over the next 12 years, Jensen called Candy to Oakland again and again for vitamins. There, he did an extended series of experiments on her, and he forced her to drink orange juice laced with various drugs, injected new substances into her, and tried out new conditioning routines. All right, now we've recognized that we can do this stuff to her, so we're going to take it further. One of those classic conditioning routines began with Jensen saying, "The light is out." Then he would turn it off. Later, as the association conditioning took hold, he would just say to her, "The light is out." Then the room would seem totally dark to her, even when the light was still on. Induction cues. Jensen, what do we got? Ooh, time-wise. Ooh, 9:20. Okay, so induction cues. Jensen could also hypnotize and program his human puppet by phone. He might call to talk to Candy a moment, then call out Arlene using an auditory cue, or he might play the cue the moment Candy's voice answered, then talk to Arlene. Candy would imagine afterwards that it was a call with nobody there. Because of having no memory of hearing Jensen's voice, she would hang up thinking nothing of it. The CIA doctor's telephone cue to make Candy relax and switch personalities was a mechanical metronome sound, which Arlene called the code, a unique series of tick-tocks which sounded faster and faster. He had an oral version of that induction code too. Sometimes after Candy arrived at his office from the airport, she would wearily sink into a chair and doze off. Arlene knew, however, that the sleep Candy fell into in that chair was not a natural one. Candy fell asleep because she heard Jensen speak a brief series of nonsense sounds. Afterwards, Candy never remembered hearing the induction cue. Only Arlene remembered that. Isolation. Jensen concealed Candy's programming and his experiments on her as if his life depended on it. He kept the existence of Arlene's secret from Candy. He also kept that he had accomplished secret from foreign intelligence and from the public and from other CIA employees. The first stage in mind control program involves isolation from family and friends while the foundation programming is implanted. After that, a more permanent form of isolation is then built in. Talk frankly only with us. Stay away from them. Jensen and Berger also programmed in harsh prejudice for the purpose of alienating Candy from all definable groups of people. Jensen's flat no friends rule dealt with the rest. The mind controller wanted her to be a self sufficient loner who avoided people and avoided relationships because Candy said most of them wouldn't understand what I was doing. I couldn't take the risk. Candy had been a lonely child. Now, though well known and popular nationwide, she was a lonely adult. Love was also forbidden. Candy was a famous beauty, a noted author who traveled widely in her work and met many eligible men. She sometimes thought about one man in particular, John Nebel. She had met him once, years before. Now she often listened to him interviewing guests in his late night talk show. Obedient to her programming, however, she never acted on her feelings, never communicated them to him, and never even communicated with him. It was just a secret, hopeless crush. For Jensen had told Candy, while she was hypnotized over and over, that she would never marry again. He said she did not want to get married. Now, in this little box, telephone induction. Trance can't be induced over the phone even the first time if enough trance can be induced over the phone even the first time if enough factors favor the hypnotist. For example, when Berger first hypnotized Candy, she was naturally susceptible to hypnosis, sick, which raises your ability to be hypnotized, desperately wanting to feel better, which provided motivation, and more motivation also raises that. And then she was isolated with nothing else to pay attention to except his voice over the phone. Once a subject has been told the cue for post-hypnotic induction, the process becomes even simpler. If the subject has been hypnotized previously, it is only necessary to tell him that he will feel as heavy and tired as he felt on the last occasion when he had been hypnotized, but that he will still be able to hold the telephone to his ear. The hypnotist speaks or sounds the post-hypnotically suggested induction cue over the phone when he gets his subject's ear on the other end. He doesn't have to say hello first. That would give a subject a predator on the phone warning and the chance to hang up before the induction cue is spoken. Instead, the hypnotist gives the induction cue first. Immediately, in a person programmed for routine amnesia during trances, the subject's conscious mind is offline. Only the reflexive hypno robot is now listening. The hypnosis gives his instructions to that subject's unconscious. When he is then finished, the phone call and the hypnosis are terminated, probably both at once, by routine suggestion. Welcome back again.
Yeah, dang, it took forever. Like I said, I was getting irritated. I was sending you messages and everything.
Right?
Right?
So
Internet kicked me out.
Jensen also denied complete medical care to his subject. The psychiatrist's deep-level hypnotic suggestions made her terrified to visit any doctor other than Dr. Aldridge, head of OB/GYN at Women's Hospital in New York City. Aldridge, her longtime personal physician, was trouble enough for Jensen. When Candy told the gynecologist about her flights to the West Coast for vitamin shots, Aldridge protested. He said vitamin B12 is only given into the buttocks muscle. If given in the arm, the shot would be intramuscular, not intravenous. He urged his famous patient to refuse any more of Jensen's vitamins. Dr. Aldridge shook Candy up enough that she had a big argument with Jensen about those vitamins the next time she went to Oakland. But when she returned, the argument was settled in Jensen's favor. There are different schools of medicine, she later rationalized to Aldridge. When Candy needed dental work, Jensen stalled her. The condition of her teeth became worse and worse. One day, she asked permission to make a dental appointment to have all of her work done in one sitting under sodium pentothal. That notion greatly upset Jensen. He insisted that she must never let anyone give her that drug. Jensen did not rule out just sodium pentothal, a favorite of hypnoprogrammers. He forbid any dental anesthetic for her, even Novocaine. Because of her chronic toothaches, Candy pleaded with Jensen many times to let her visit a dentist. He finally agreed to let her visit a CIA dentist, but then stalled again. The CIA dentist never was available for her. Jensen also worried that Candy might visit a psychiatrist. He especially warned her never to allow herself to be given the powerful tranquilizer Thorazine. The involvement of an ethical psychiatrist is the thing most feared by an unethical operator. Psychiatrists understand narcohypnosis. They can administer barbiturates which penetrate ceiling suggestions. They understand methods by which to program the unconscious and by which to deprogram it. Candy later explained to John, obviously unconsciously parroting Jensen's statements, why she could not make an appointment with a psychiatrist. I'll get very, very sick and I might even have a compulsion. I've never had a compulsion, but I will know what one is like if I go to a psychiatrist. He said it would start in my stomach, and he said that I would get very upset because they ask you too many questions. They'll think that you're crazy and they won't believe you. They would think something has happened to you. Candy tried hard to stay healthy. She knew that she could not seek help if she became sick because of her phobia, a fear of medical attention. Training for a hypno agent, the CIA sent Candy to Camp Peary several times for training in Secret Service tactics: detect, destroy, and demolish. There at the farm, as insiders called it, she learned to search a room, commit arson, leave no clues, commit suicide with a poisonous lipstick, or commit murder by sticking a pin into the lipstick and then into a victim. The curriculum also included the use of acid as offense and defense, firing various types of guns, climbing ropes, writing coded messages on fingernails, then painting over them with polish, and so forth. Courier in action. In 1965, under the heading of espionage, in a book called Hypnosis Induction Techniques, a programming script appeared. Agent X, you are now in a deep hypnotic trance. When you awaken from this trance state, you will not remember that you have been hypnotized. You will believe that you have never been hypnotized before in your life and that you cannot be hypnotized. In fact, if anybody should ever ask if you've been hypnotized, you will say, no, I have not been, and I can't be. You will know that if anybody ever hypnotizes you or attempts to hypnotize you other than members of this particular unit, you will become extremely nervous, will feel sick to your stomach. In the event of your capture, you will find that you have no memory for anything to do with espionage. No matter what type of questioning or hardship you may have to undergo, this information will never be released by your subconscious to your conscious mind. This was said by Teitelbaum in Hypnosis Induction Techniques. Now, for Candy, it was not hypothetical. She was a CIA courier. It was all conditioned routine now. Get off the plane, go to Jensen's office, take out her Arlene wig and clothing from Jensen's closet, change into them, receive her fake passport from him, and then get a dose of vitamins. After that, Arlene went wherever Jensen directed, usually carrying a sealed envelope. She delivered them to major East Coast cities, handing the envelopes to some waiting stranger in a restaurant, office building, or hotel. Consciously, Candy knew that she delivered mail, a task which sometimes involved travel for the CIA. She knew that she used various names, including the name of Arlene Grant. She had a passport in that name. She knew that she had rented a box at the Grand Central Station Post Office in August of 1961 under her birth name of Jessica Wilcox, which she checked every day until about 1969, though mail seldom came. When it did, she knew that she was to take it to her office. An unknown man would collect it from her there, or somebody would telephone her with instructions to deliver it somewhere in the city. She knew it all must be kept secret. That was all she consciously knew. The CIA did pay, but irregularly and never directly. Instead, they would send several $1,000s at a time to pay for her son's school or to pay a family hospital bill as if it were an anonymous donation. Candy gradually realized that delivering those letters sometimes put her in situations that might be life-threatening. She then wrote a formal letter to her lawyer the first time she communicated anything about her secret work to another person. She put a copy into her safe deposit box, and in the letter, Candy said that she used three names: Jessie Wilcox, Candy Jones, and Arlene Grant. In the event of my death due to an accident or sudden illness, please have my demise checked, if at all possible. I am not at liberty to divulge the sideline activity in which I am involved. However, you can be assured that in no way is it illegal, immoral, or unpatriotic. Candy confided a little more to her old friend and editor at Harper and Road, Joe Vergara. He did not believe her. She had the impression that he interpreted what she told him as evidence of mental problems. One night, Jensen instructed Candy to attend a party which was being given by Bill Buckley at the 21 Club. Buckley ended up a dead CIA station chief in Beirut. Candy's assignment was to photograph the man who came in and insulted Buckley during the party. Candy was there. The man arrived, sought out Buckley, and insulted him with censorable language, just as Jensen had predicted. Candy snapped his picture. She did not know who he was. Candy delivered the picture to the unit controller, Jensen, who had just demonstrated his powers to Chief Buckley. From then on, the doctor proudly displayed that photo on his desk. It was a secret souvenir, trophy evidence of two of the minds he presumably controlled: Candy Jones, who could be made to photograph a stranger, and the strange man who had been caused to insult Buckley. That kind of thing amuses hypnotists. Torture and shame experiments. The two main centers of activity in Candy's CIA messenger job had been New York, where she lived and worked, and San Francisco, where she flew to get her treatments, transformations, and assignments from Jensen. Now, Jensen began a series of experiments which were carried out in a third city in Taiwan, presumably by cooperating Republic of China agents. They tested the hypno-program courier's behavior by mimicking her capture and interrogation by an enemy. The experiments tested how well her hypnotic amnesia withstood cordiality and torture. Could torture break Candy? Would she be convinced of her innocence as to act honestly indignant? Could ruthless torture make her reveal the secrets of her conditioning? Would her amnesia and personality splitting hold up even under humiliation and excruciating pain? Or would she confess all of the secrets of Jensen and Arlene? The CIA first discussed this particular terminal experiment in 1954. Such an experiment could have been performed, as Morse Allen suggested, by friendly police in a country like Taiwan or Paraguay. CIA men did at least discuss joint work in hypnosis with the Foreign Secret Service in 1962. John Marks made that statement because the document proposing the foreign experiments, which Candy had already described, turned up in 1978 among CIA papers he obtained by means of his Freedom of Information Act lawsuit against the CIA. Marks then submitted another Freedom of Information Act FOIA request specifically seeking information on that joint work in hypnosis. The CIA, however, refused to release any documents about hypnosis experiments in cooperation with foreign intelligence agencies. Another document, which survived the episodic CIA shreddings of their mind control research records and was eventually obtained by John Marks, listed titles and dates of documents packets in 7 boxes. I'm sorry, man. I don't know why they keep kicking you out. So, 152 sets in all. All contents of those boxes had been destroyed, but the title date list had survived. The last 5 entries are MK Ultra, 146 August 63, September 64. 147 October 63, May 67. 148 November 63 to September 64. 151 February 66 to December 67, and that's MK Ultra. Then Grant was 151 February 66 to December 67, and 152 May of 66 to June 66. Does Grant refer to Arlene Grant? That pseudonym, which Dr. Jensen assigned to Candy the first day she signed up for his unit, may well have been the name under which her experimental records were stored. The years of 1966 to 1967 matched the period of time when Candy was making trips to Taiwan. Those journeys required extensive preparation and coordination between the CIA and their counterparts in the Republic of China. The experiments on Candy, which took place on the island of Taiwan, began in the fall of 1966. We do not know exactly how many such trips she took. Of all of the things that Arlene had to relive, her only way to communicate to John what had happened, the most difficult for her to re-experience, were the cruel torture experiments. She invariably became hysterical during those sessions. Candy/Arlene told John Nebel about those experiments in 1973. Bain's book which made public the history of her hypnoprogramming and use as a CIA experimental subject, was published in 1976. Candy's information predated the FOIA releases. They corroborated her account. Now, with that being said, we have quite a little bit left of Candy Jones. So we're going to stop there. And next week, we're going to pick up with the nice treatment. And this is going to still go into more detail of experiments that were run on her, tortures, measurable degrees of agony, a new experiment called Snake in the Box. We are going to discuss in her case files here. Coming up. And how they're going to make her feel shameful. She starts fighting back. They're going to try to give her suicide orders, apparently. They're going to do a marriage. Arlene's going to start to come out. There's going to be a new hypnotist. Arlene's going to be a whistleblower. There's a thing in here about dentists and doctors in her case. Her and her husband fighting, publishing, publicity, touring that she does, and then they're silencing. And then
That'll be interesting.
When we get through that, that's when we start part 2, which is the partial history of U.S. government mind control research. This is when it's going to start getting really like, are you serious? U.S. research on hypnosis and mind control begins. Secret agencies, secret research, secret operations, mind control research, goals and methods, physical methods of psychiatry, the history of deliberate personality splitting, Operation Often, which is going to be another case history apparently with a experiment, because as Scarlett and I have learned, operation is just another word that they use intermittently with experiment.
Correct.
Operation is just a fancy way of saying you still an experiment, bitch.
Right.
Okay. It just sounds nicer when they say operation.
You feel like there's like some sort of, I guess,
safety
option
there,
or choice, or
right? An option, a choice, some safety. Hey, what are you doing, dork? Why would you?
who, Frito?
Yes, he just jumped on the table on the book.
Dang, Frito, get off the book, bro.
Right? I'm like, why would you? Why would you jump on the table? Why would you do that? You've never done that ever in your whole existence until right now. I swear to God. So now you're pulling Betty's out your butthole.
Yeah, because he's Betty's friend.
Oh, right. Because he's got to be mentioned by name. You know, just like Betty. Every episode.
Frito! Hey, Frito.
Frito Cheeto.
Frito Bandito.
Right. So then it has information, interviews, incidents. Psychiatry is no longer a joke. And then it's going to jump like it says psychiatry is no longer joke, and then it has this whole can't come up, fish don't come up, is this little quote that it has at the end of this little page here. And then it says U.S. research on hypnosis and mind control begins, and then it says the personalities, and then military mind control research begins. I'm just going to read the little part so that people know what's about to come out. They fought in the trenches of concealment and deception across the lines of falsehood and betrayal. It is the same in any war. What is heroic in combat is criminal in peace. Just as combat sanctions physical violence, so espionage grants license to moral violence. It is trite but true to say that they did what they did for the good of their country. Unfortunately, it is also true that it frequently didn't work out that way. David C. Martin, Wilderness of Mirrors.
Ooh.
Yeah, it often doesn't work out that way. We know this. Scarlett and I are no strangers to MK Ultra.
Word.
We are no strangers to these cases. To these particular cases, maybe.
Yeah.
However, we are no strangers to reading our own case files. Within the vault.
Right.
We are no strangers to the fact about hypnosis and what happens in hypnosis. We have reported on this stuff for the last 5 years. And what's great about finding this book all of a sudden is that it is finally able to fill some gaps for Scarlett and I that we were missing. Because for instance, something that's now been explained that I don't know if you caught or not, but during this Candy's case files, right?
Right.
The CIA shredded a whole bunch of files.
Right. Well, that's nothing new.
It's not, but at the same time, when you're like, oh, they're going to declassify that. Are they, though? Or are they just going to shred the shit first?
True. Is all the good shit gone?
Right? Which we've always said, too. If they're letting us know about this, trust them.
What else is there?
Believe that they have something far worse that they're capable now of, that they're like, it's okay if you know about this, because if you're focused on this, then you have okay, so for instance, if we created Poison Ivy, and then we created Bane, right?
Mm-hmm.
We would potentially tell the public, okay, there's Poison Ivy over there. Why? So that you don't pay attention to the Bane that we are and have created.
Right.
Just like the whole, oh, look, we're cloning cute fuzzy things. Are we? Or are we making Jurassic Park again? Because there's a lot of that going around right now, too.
Right.
And listen, I did not sign up to live in no damn Jurassic Park. Don't do that shit. Why would you? Why?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know why you would, because why wouldn't you? If you believe in natural selection, why would they have just died off, especially if they became extinct?
Right? Why would you bring some dangerous shit back?
I could
Why?
understand maybe the dodo bird bringing back because we killed that to extinction, right? Okay, yeah, we killed those to extinction because they were stupid. But still,
they had that name for a reason.
oh my god, they're making you go all robotic. This is so irritating.
Let's
You're clear. You're clear as shit. You're clear on YouTube. It's just me.
Wow.
And it's ridiculous.
I'm sorry.
I know.
But why would you bring some shit back? Like some ancient fucking a lizard thing that you found in ice that you don't know nothing about.
Right.
Why you want to do that? See, I firmly believe that this is what ends the world, G. When we
Right.
start playing God and intermixing shit, right? When we start making these things that we're reportedly making right now, like, you want to piss off God? This is how we piss off God. Like, okay, like that, like
Right.
the alligator catfish thing we were talking about, where they've crossed the DNA of an alligator and a catfish and created this. I don't even know what they're calling it, like super alligator, I guess.
Right.
You can't play God like this. He doesn't like it. It's not okay. And whether you want to refer to God as God or Mother Nature or natural selection, whatever, the universe, whatever you want to associate with, no matter how you slice it down, you can't mess with his stuff. Don't do it. They don't like to be second guessed. Don't second guess God. It's not why. This is how we end the world. Y'all want to end the world? This is how we end the world. We start fucking with the DNA of God's creatures. This is how we end the fucking world. That and nuclear disaster. Oh, I already lived through 3 of those in my lifetime. So I guess it's going to be the DNA shit that really does us in. Because fuck. Everybody said it was going to be nuclear. Well, here we still sit. Because now I think we're just being tortured. Like, ha ha ha, you're going to live with it. Neener, neener, neener. So, next week, hopefully, Scrappy's going to be back. Because, she's just sick. Not feeling good. And then she'll be back. And then, I don't know, Scarlett, are you planning on being here next week? I have no idea.
Yeah, I plan on being. Oh, on your show, yeah, I plan on being back next week. I mean, as long as there's no like giant like weather outbreaks or anything. But other than that, I'll be here.
And then, so we'll be here. Same bat time.
Yep, we'll be here.
Same bat
Same bad
station.
channel. Right.
We will have weekly guidance again next week, obviously. We will repeat. Oh man, where are we going to be in the months? Are we still gonna? Okay, so we will repeat February's moon news and March's. I mean, we've done it every episode so far. We will have our Fukushima. We have not forgotten segment. Spiritual segment, which we didn't really do tonight. I guess I could do that last night. It doesn't take much to just. Let's just open up and see what message comes, right? Right. Okay, so what do we got? Glasses is my first thing. So I guess we're going to talk about husbands. Because it says, my husband may become enraged and slay my human form. He cannot kill the soul, and in the many mansions of my fatherland, I have a dwelling place.
Can't
Ruth
nobody
told
that
This was Ruth speaking to Jesus, I guess, apparently. And then she said, "What shall I do?" And Jesus said, "Your husband is not willingly at fault. He is devout. He prays to God, our Father God. His zeal for his religion is intense. In this, he is sincere, but it has driven him insane, and he believes it right to keep his home unsullied by the hearsay of Christ. He feels assured that he has done the will of God in driving you away. Intolerance is ignorance matured." I think that is probably the message of the day right there. Intolerance is ignorance matured. And that is from the Aquarian Gospels, chapter 77, verse 13. Intolerance is ignorance matured. Wow, that says a lot right there. Learning to come into yourself and learning what your freedom, what your journey to freedom is. That can be a pretty epic moment. And ooh, yes, Ellie, very ooh, all the time, ooh, ooh. Thank you for joining our programming this evening, Ellie Belly. I was going to put you to bed long before now, but you will not ever go to bed when I put the blanket around you when we're doing a show. Yeah, I see you. I see you, Birdie. I'm pretty sure Ellie is saying goodnight to everyone. You're going to say night nights? You're going to say Ellie night nights? Hello?
I feel like I'm here, but it keeps making you all robotic. For me,
Oh,
not for everybody else.
I feel it.
Yeah. They're hating on me, so from the land of 10,000 lakes, good night, universe.
And with that, poor Scarlet. Everybody, I hope to see you next week. And like I said, you know what we're going to get into with the book. You know what's coming forward for the week. I might add another old but new segment back. We'll see how it goes throughout the week if I get there. And I'll leave that to be a surprise. And until next week, everybody, dare to be different, dare to be you, and dare to learn to love yourself unconditionally.